thanks for following us on Facebook, Terry Wickstrom Outdoors, and our music, Wickstrom and Dobrith. We'll let the Eagles take us to Dan Jacobs on 104.3 The Fan.
KKFN and KKFN HD1 Longmont, Denver.
You're listening to Denver Sports 104.3 The Fan. Denver Sports 104.3 The Fan presents the Honorable Judge Dan Jacobs.
It is Saturday edition of the Dan Jacobs Show. Thanks to Coach Terry Wickstrom. Always enjoy doing the cross-talk with him. Yeah, it's interesting watching the water levels go down. We made the ultimate faux pas. And I won't mention names because it would be stupid of me to throw this guy out under the bus. But my lawn is completely dead. It's completely roached. And I'm not sure if I should feel much shame in this. Like, can you imagine if this happened to Schlereth? His lawn just completely fried. Or should I just be like, well, it's a drought year. You can get away with it, right? Because we got home from our trip, and I noticed that our grass, our show was just, our lawn was just completely dead. And so I go look at the sprinkler thing. For those of you that are not homeowners. Now, Joe, do you have any idea what it entails getting your sprinklers ready for the season? Any idea? Did you used to do it with your pops or?
I mean, my parents had sprinklers. So did you winterize them and you have to
you have to
unwinterize them?
You have to kind of get them going and stuff. Now, I don't like to do that stuff. So I have a guy that basically comes over and does all the manly stuff that I'm not able to do. How about that? And so him and my lovely wife, Kimberly, said, yeah, we're taking care. In fact, I think he came over when I was not home. I was out working. And him and my lovely wife, Kimberly, as they do every year, they took care of the sprinklers. Not bad. And then I noticed, though, that our lawn was dead. So what they did was they set the there's a routine and this and that or the other thing to get the sprinklers going. They test them. They make sure all the heads are, not broken and all the zones are working. They did all that. And then they neglected to turn the dial 2 notches to actually set the automatic timer to run. So for weeks, and then of course we go out of the country. And so for 2 weeks, we weren't even there to notice, right? And so we come home to a freshly roached garage. So I fix it, I turn the timer on, and then the circuit breaker pops. So that worked for a day or two, and then it went offline again. So now our lawn is just completely dead. Like I cannot invite Mark Schlereth over or any of those guys from the morning show. Although I should, Joe, bring them over. Oh, Joe, you can't play taps. You can't play taps. We had a funeral on air one time for my dog. We thought the owl came and snatched up our dog, our little Chihuahua. And so we're doing the morning show, and we did a little funeral, I did a little eulogy, and we played taps. And the fine service people and veterans that listened to the station, they were very offended by poor Puella getting laid to rest with taps. Although it turns out, much to my dismay, Puella was alive and well. She had been scooped up by the mean neighbor who hated all of our animals. And so the second she saw an opportunity, she took the dog and raced it over to the pound. So we got the dog back.
Oh my God, that's horrifying. You had a neighbor steal your dog? What is this, Air Bud?
Yeah. Isn't it crazy? Yeah, it turned out we had to get rid of our cat because she didn't like our cat would sit on the hood of cars and leave little dirty paw prints. So HOA, she's like Kyle Reese, calling HOA on everybody. So we had to get rid of the cat eventually. It was probably the best cat we ever had. But yeah, sometimes neighbors are like that. Sometimes neighbors are just a little tough to deal with. That's why I prefer to be the difficult neighbor. Like if I'm the neighbor that nobody can stand, then I don't have to worrying about other people's neighbors. So, but speaking of the morning show, I come in, I work hard to bring the Dan Jacobs Show to you. Joe, I'm confused. Like we have new monitors in the studio so we can see ourselves on the YouTube. Now, my natural inclination is to look this way, right? So if you log on to the DenverSports YouTube channel, of course, you can get involved in the Champ Honda YouTube chat. But my natural inclination is to look at you, Joe, because I talk to you throughout almost all the show. But I think they put up these monitors to say, Dan, you're a handsome man. We need you looking this way. Is that what the purposes of these things are? So you can look at yourself throughout the show?
The monitors are only for you to look at yourself, for nothing else.
Well, I'm looking at you now. But you got to turn the lights on in there. See, you freaking hobbits in there, always. You guys are always sitting in the dark. It drives me absolutely crazy. For years, these guys in the control room, you go in the control room to talk to these guys, and they're just sitting in complete darkness. And so now on YouTube, you can't do that because every time you talk, the camera switches to you, and you're sitting in there in darkness.
All right, how's this? Is this better?
It's a little better, but you need more. Like here, I've noticed it's bright. I love it. I love it in here now. They got all the bright lights and all that stuff in there. You got to work on it.
I'll get one of those like YouTube ring lights and just put it right here.
Yeah. Get yourself a little ring light. Real quick on the text line. Judge, my man, you got to figure out how to do your own sprinklers. That's man 101. That's true. Like I admitted it. Like I have people to come do the quote manly stuff.
Why would anyone do drugs when they could just mow a lawn?
There you go. So I have people now, in fairness to me, because this is going to sound bad because we have the haters out there that are like, oh, you big lawyers. You don't realize what it's like to be the little guy. I do have people that will mow the lawn and shovel the driveway, but that only started when I blew out my leg and I was unable to physically do it. Otherwise, I did do it up until then. But once you have somebody do it, you're like, why would I ever go back? Why would I go back?
Well, don't you have like neighborhood kids? Like, isn't that what neighborhood kids are for? You pay them to do your lawn so you don't have to.
Yeah,
and
but
they get to learn values and stuff.
I know, but I'm happy to employ those guys too. In fact, the guy that does my sidewalks, which by the way, he got paid because he charges you for the season. He raised our rates like 50%, but he said you're locked in for life, but you got to pay at the beginning of the season. So we paid for all this. So you want it to snow. You want to get your money's worth. I think he came out one time last year. He made a pretty good living just off the driveways that he got paid. He didn't have to mow. But like Mark Schlereth, for example, man, got to do all my own lawn work. Like, no, I don't want to do that.
Nanny boo-boo, stick your head in doo-doo.
So there are definitely different camps, like the Texter or Mark Schlereth. They're like, you got to do everything yourself. I operate the grill and the smoker. I'm starting to do a little bit on the car, but no, I have Derek and Gary that work on the car. I got are you really doing yourself a service to? Because sometimes I feel guilty and I'll go do the manly things. And I'm like, what a waste of time. Do people really get satisfaction out of this? Do they really feel like they're being more productive by doing this stuff?
It hurts.
I don't. I'm like, this just seems like a waste of time. I just spent an hour and a half pulling weeds. Why? Makes no sense.
It's all Zen, Dan. Like you're supposed to be, one with nature and stuff.
Well, where do you fall in? Now you rent, right? But if you owned a house or even at the house that you're at, because you stay with your buddy Jimbo, right? Do you feel like you need to fix cabinets and do light bulbs and pull weeds?
No, I feel like I need to help organize and clean stuff. The yard at this house is insane because we have a German Shepherd Rottweiler that lives at the house named Bear. He's adorable. He has ruined the lawn. It is all dirt now.
Ah, well, there you go. Yeah, we once had neighbors that they bought the house new, and you had to pay extra to get the lawn. So they just never installed a lawn. So people would come over, they'd be on our deck, and they'd look to the right, and they'd see this completely unlandscaped dirt, weed-infested patch. And they're like, well, dude, what's up with your neighbors? I'm like, I don't know, man. To each their own. Coming up here in just a minute, we'll have our weekly check-in with James Marilat. I bet you James is a good neighbor. I bet you he's a guy that it's nice to talk to, like in the shows, like in neighborhoods where people sit in the driveway and talk to each other.
Like a good neighbor, James Marilat.
I was embarrassed. A guy came up to me the other day. It was dark, but we dropped something, and so he brought it over, and I go, "Oh, thanks." I didn't realize it was my next door neighbor. I'm like, you're him, huh? He's like, "Yeah, that's me." Now, in fairness, I've only lived there for a year or so, but you would think I would know what my neighbors look like by now. A lot to get to. Avs, Nuggets, a little bit of Broncos, a little bit of weekly look back. And, of course, we want to check in with James Marilat as soon as he's ready to see. By the way, I'll just go ahead and do this now while he's getting his makeup done and walking in from the green room. James Marilat brought to you by the Birdie Bar in Louisville, the premier indoor golf bar in downtown Louisville, locally owned and operated. Find them at birdie.bar on the web and Instagram. Do we have Mr. Marilat? Is that him right there? All right.
What's up, Dan? What's up, Dan?
Where are you at? You in Vegas? What are you doing?
I'm on my way to Vegas. I'm actually just pulling out of Lake Havasu City.
Okay.
Just hitting the road.
We were talking about you. I may not be the greatest neighbor. I would like to be, but I'm probably not. And I said to myself, I bet you know who is a good neighbor? James Marilat. I bet you if you see your neighbor outside, you go over and talk to him, you help him out, you bring him their paper. Like, how is it to have James Marilat as a neighbor?
Well, I like to think I'm a good neighbor. If I'm out shoveling, I don't stop right at the end of my property line on the sidewalk. I go ahead and, grab the neighbors while I'm at it. If I got a neighbor who, mowing their own lawn is a little tough for whatever reason, I'll hop over and mow it. I'm a good neighbor, if we're having people over and it's a little rowdy, making sure it's not going on too late or the kids aren't out there making too much noise too late. Yeah, I like to think I'm a good neighbor.
All right. By the way, in your neighborhood, my one of my nieces, breaking community news, big controversy up in Erie, James. While you were gone, the city council voted to sell off the mineral rights to the town of Erie for, I don't know how much money they got for it, but it was very, very contentious issue. My niece, Salem Goodman, is breaking the story for the publication she's looking for. Were you even aware this was going on, James?
Was unaware of that story. Feels like a one-time cash out, and at some point they're going to regret doing that. But, they had to refill the coffers. I find that surprising because Erie, when I was a kid, Dan, Erie was this town that didn't even have a stoplight. Like, there was nobody there. And now it's so big and so many new houses are in there. Their property taxes they generate have to be, seriously, 50 times what they were 30 years ago. So I'm surprised they'd be selling off the rights and trying to cash in on that. That doesn't seem like a very good move.
Tax the Marilats. That's all you need to do, right?
Well, yeah, you should have just asked me. But technically, I'm in Broomfield now, Dan.
Oh, that's right. You moved. Okay. I still consider you're always being Erie in my heart.
That's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay. I'm in Erie a lot. Erie's a good town. Although it's the big rival in football.
Yeah. Oh, now you're rivals. Uh-oh. Okay. Yeah. I better be careful the way I address you now from now on. All right, so let's get into this. Nuggets. You were there. By the way, I did see, I don't know if this is true or not. It could be fake AI stuff. Jonas Valanciunas heaping praise on the work ethic of Nikola Jokic, saying basically you media types that are hating on him and piling on him and spitting out false narratives about how he doesn't work very hard and he doesn't care. Valanciunas says, not true, Mr. Marilat. Nobody works harder than Nikola Jokic. How do you respond to that?
Well, he can say whatever he wants to say. That's fine, and I appreciate the fact that he's got his teammates back. That's cool. But, the evidence tells you a different story, doesn't it? We see him. We see what his body looks like sometimes at the start of the season. We saw what his body looked like when he came back from the injury. So, if he comes back and he's all jacked, he's never going to look like Giannis, but if he looks like he's in shape in October and doesn't just play himself in shape, okay, I'll say maybe something's different. But, his teammates can say whatever they want. That doesn't mean what I'm looking at with my own eyes doesn't exist. So I'm sure he does work hard on his game, but and it's really not the work ethic thing in the offseason as much as it is just the fact that he is a commitment, right? Like, the fact that we have to keep having conversations of, does basketball really matter to this guy? In the beginning, it was cute. It was funny. It was nice to see a guy that didn't take it so seriously and, would be fun-loving and all the rest of that. But when you're in a championship window, to me, it's, hey, what are you doing Wemby-like to improve your game, your body, your whatever, to be ready to withstand the rigors of an 82-game season? And I just don't see that in the off season. I see cheering for your horses and, doing barrel rolls off of whitewater rafts and, going to the soccer matches and whatever else. And maybe it's also like, Dan, I used to get really upset when the Rockies, and they don't do it anymore, when the Rockies would get swept in L.A., get on the plane and tweet a photo of their menu, of their fancy meal they were going to have on the flight home. It's like, have a little perspective. You just got swept. Not to saying you can't eat, not saying you can't have fun, not saying you can't, live first class, but have a little self-awareness and don't tweet that. Same thing with Jokic. You just got beaten 6 games in the first round by a team that was decimated with injuries. And it's just not funny when you're off goofing around while the Spurs and the Thunder are going at it and you should be in that series. It's just not funny anymore. I'm just over it.
Well, I don't know that he's the one putting that out there. I think that's more driven by you media types. But I will say I think it's a little unfair, this dismissal of the notion that there are different body types, right? If we had the same issue with Nikola that we have routinely with Jamal Murray, that he's not in shape, that he can't finish games, that he gets tired, that his performance drops down because he's out of wind or weak, like happens to Jamal all the time. In fact, I think it happened to Jamal in the Minnesota series. He looked gassed. But we never hear that about Nikola Jokic, particularly before they got a little depth. Remember Michael Malone was desperate to find any non-Nikola Jokic minutes, and he gobbled up every single minute. He's always gobbled up every single minute you throw at him and says, yes, sir, can I please have some more? Just because he doesn't look like Giannis doesn't mean he's not in shape. He's clearly in shape. I don't think the things that happen, the reason that they don't win is not because Nikola's in shape. Now, if you want to say it's because Nikola can't jump and, he doesn't protect the rim and people just drive down the middle, and you can say all those things, but to question his commitment to the game when he's probably maybe one of the only guys on the team that does put in that work and you don't have to worry. Like, when do you have to worry about Nikola coming out? In fact, as fans, we've said, we've been worried about him playing too many minutes. He never says, well, I'm tired. I can't play. Whereas, the other guy that's worth $55 million a year on the team, you do have to worry about that.
Well, what did he shoot from 3-point range against the Timberwolves? What did he shoot in Game 7 when they blew a 20-point lead against the Timberwolves from 3-point range? To me, that's because you're tired. You don't have any legs, and your shots are off. So, again, I'm not expecting him to look like Atlas, but I do think he could be in better shape. I think he could, and we'll see the photo that's circulating online. We'll see if that's AI or not. But if we see him, play for Team Serbia, and he looks like a different guy, and he's jacked and in shape, well, one thing will be that's great, good. Hope he keeps it up. The second part of me will be, oh, good to see he got in shape for the games he really cares about.
Oh, here we go. See,
there's no winning. There's
no winning with you, James.
Win the World Championship for Serbia or win the NBA Finals for the
There's
Nuggets?
absolutely no winning with you. Like, it's like, all right, well, he's not in shape. Oh, he gets in shape. You're going to say, well, good for him, but he should have always been in shape. Come on, man. Where are you at?
Yeah. I mean, if your ex gets in shape after after the relationship, you're like, well, I'm glad they're back. They got in shape, but where was that a couple years ago?
Oh, my goodness. Oh, I love it. All right, so talk to me about the Nuggets. We're going to be talking about the Drive had a nice segment on, or a segment on. I don't know if it was nice or not. We're going to listen to part of it. But Kroenke is now, I think, the proud owner of the biggest sports empire in history. So it's to certain people, I actually don't know that I agree with this, but embarrassing to them that all we're hearing about the Nuggets is that they got to slash salary and they're dumping salary, and then they just dump salary on the Avalanche as well. Where do you fall on that?
I think a lot of what the Kroenkes do with the Nuggets and the Avalanche is embarrassing. It's embarrassing that they have one practice court. It's embarrassing that they're the only team in the NBA that at their practice facility doesn't have a individual hoop for each player. Now, that may sound like, well, that's a kind of a luxury. Maybe it is, but you're the only team in the NBA that doesn't have it. That's embarrassing. It's embarrassing that that the Avalanche practice at a facility that also has a laser tag. It's embarrassing that when you go to an Avalanche practice during training camp, before they take the ice, it's the beer league that's out there playing a game. I mean, come on. That's just rinky-dink. And then when you start making moves that are salary dumps, and the Avalanche can trade with a salary dump. Now, we'll see if that frees up some money to go do something else. So was the Ross Colton trade. That was a salary dump. So, hey, if you need the cap space because you have a plan, great. If you're just, cutting costs, I have an issue with that. And look, the NBA rules are so complicated, and their salary cap and the Larry Bird exemption and the this and the that. It sometimes makes your head spin. But Dan, don't you get frustrated that seemingly every other team can make moves, right? The Lakers and Celtics seem to do whatever in the heck they want. The teams can get involved in the Giannis trade. The Timberwolves can make a bunch of moves. Why is it that the Nuggets are always hamstrung? Oh, they just can't do anything.
Well, they're not. Hold on a second. That's not fair. That is not fair, James Merrilat. Everybody said the same thing last year, and what did they do? They made a bunch of moves, and on paper, the team got a lot better. It got a lot deeper. They got rid of MPJ's poison pill contract. They brought in what was supposed to be this even better player because he was going to play better defense in Cam Johnson. They brought in Tim Hardaway Jr. They brought back Bruce Brown. They did also, they gave Christian Brown money. Like, they did a lot last year, and it's probably because they were incompetent at it that they're going to be suffering this year. But to say they never do it, and by the way, haven't they paid everybody that's played well that they've drafted? They paid Nikola, they're paying Jamal, they're paying Christian Brown, they're looking at paying Payton Watson. Are you being unfair, sir?
No, I'm not, because the trade they made last year, to some extent, the MPJ trade was a salary dump. Now, they were able to add some other pieces and add some depth that was supposed to make them better. And look, had they been healthy, and the fact that their two best defensive players were out on a team that's not very good defensively, that really did hurt. I get it that Minnesota had injuries too, but you probably couldn't have picked two worse guys to be injured other than Jokic. So, but that was to some extent a salary dump. They can re-sign Payton Watson now. Do you want to pay the luxury tax? Okay, well, if you're worth billions and billions, yes, you pay the luxury tax while you have Nikola Jokic in his prime. And once he retires and it's like, okay, we're in rebuild mode, if you want to cut costs and do salary dumps, I'm fine with that. I have no problem with that. But to not spend every dollar you're legally allowed to spend per the league rules while you're in a championship window with the best player in the history of the organization, I think is inexcusable. And just some of these narratives that get picked up, like you just called the MPJ contract a poison pill. Why does nobody get on Aaron Gordon for his contract? The guy played, 36 games this year?
Well, yeah, but
hold
on, James.
For a week?
He hasn't made his big money yet. His contract's kicking in now. So next year he's going to get $32 million if he's here. I think he should be traded. But he hasn't made huge money yet. Like his contract is kicking in now.
Oh, yes, he has. Aaron Gordon, unless he's foolish with his money, anybody in his family for the next 5 generations won't have to worry about money ever again.
But we're talking about against the cap and all that stuff, and he hasn't made the huge money yet. I think it's a valid point. Like, we shouldn't pay him anymore because he's done, right? Like, he's washed up and he's going to be hurt. And that's not that he's not a great guy and a great teammate and Mr. Nugget, but no, he's not worth $32 million anymore.
Well,
it has to go.
I think this is embarrassing with this organization too, is the number of soft tissue injuries they had this year and continue to have with guys, and the number of players that were, we'll reevaluate them in 4 weeks. It was 7 guys this year that they said that about. Do the Cronkies spend every possible dollar they can on trainers and nutritionists and, the facilities and all the rest of it? Of course they don't. Of course they don't. And that's where, even in a salary cap sport, you can get an advantage, is the margins. There's no cap on what you can spend on coaches. Do they spend the most on coaches? Heck no. Heck no. They have assistant coaches take lateral moves because they can make more money in other places. It's happened multiple times. So the front office, they turned into the Rockies. They just promote from within. Do you think the two-headed monster that they have at GM right now is the best possible guys they could have hired when they decided to move on from Calvin Booth?
If you ask
was Calvin
them,
Booth the best possible hire they could get after Tim Connolly left? No, of course not. I mean, they've had multiple guys leave. Connolly left. Ujiri left because they could get more money elsewhere. It happens over and over and over again with this organization, and they need to be taken to task on it.
Well, what they say is they win championships, so it works.
Yeah, they win one.
Two.
They won one. It was singular with each team. Singular with each team.
How many championships have the Nuggets won per decade before Stan Kroenke got here? Zero. Zero.
Okay,
he did something nobody in the history of the world has been able to do. He brought a championship to the Denver Nuggets.
Yep, they did. But they're also now
James,
they're gonna underachieve in the Nikola Jokic era.
Well, I happen to agree with you on that. We're going to continue that conversation. Unfortunately, our time here is done. Have safe travels back, and we will do it again next week.
All right, Dan. Sounds great.
All right, that's James Marilat. You want to respond to anything he had to say? RamosLaw.com text line, 303-713-1043, or the Schomp Honda YouTube chat. Get in the mix.
The Colorado Avalanche have made a major move.
So we have some breaking news.
The Avs have traded veteran forward Valerie Nichushkin to the Columbus Blue Jackets, ending a 7-year run in burgundy and blue. In return, they get 3 draft picks, giving them 10 total ahead of Friday night's draft. What does this mean for the rest of the offseason? And what additional moves does Super Joe have up his sleeve?
Denver Sports 104.3. The Fan.
Jacob's Law, 303-LAW-4040. That's 303-LAW-4040. What we say is save that number in your phone. You never know when you're going to need it. And the other thing is we say we hope you never need it, but accidents do happen. And I was talking to a client this week, a new client that came in to get signed up. She's like, Dan, that's exactly it. I did, and I saved my number, your number in my phone because, not that I want to, right? And one of the things we do is we counsel, and you hear me do the ads a couple times a year. We counsel people about their insurance to make sure their insurance coverage is enough, because a lot of people, in fact, I would say most people are out there driving around gambling. They're gambling that the person that's going to hit them has good insurance or enough insurance, and you shouldn't do that. So that's why we review your policies and say you need to get MedPay and you need to get UIM. In fact, in the next spot, I'll tell you just what a good deal these coverages are and why they're so important for you. If you need anything, any questions, it's Jacob's Law, 303-LAW-4040, 303-LAW-4040.
Did you really think Pure Talk was just going to sit back and watch America turn 250 years old without doing something awesome to celebrate? Of course not. That's why they're raising $250,000 for America's Warrior Partnership by the end of July. America's Warrior Partnership is on the front line of preventing veteran suicide. They've had extraordinary success, and here's how you can help. When you switch your cell phone service to Pure Talk this month, you'll be invited to round up to support America's Warrior Partnership. No pressure, but if you do, Pure Talk will match your donation dollar for dollar. And to further celebrate 250 years of our extraordinary democratic republic, Pure Talk is offering unlimited talk, text, and data for just $34.99 a month. Dial pound 250, say Mike Rowe. That's pound 250, say Mike Rowe. And happy birthday to us.
This summer, the Honey Pepper Pimento Chicken Sandwich and Pineapple Dragon Fruit and Sprite are back at Chick-fil-A.
Girl, it's back. We've been waiting. I love that honey pepper pimento sandwich.
And that pineapple dragon fruit and Sprite is everything. It's got that razzle-dazzle that makes you stop and say, okay, wait a minute.
I love the creaminess of the pimento cheese. It's savory, it's bold, it's flavorful.
Our faves are back. High five, girl.
Which fan favorite will you choose? Real customers paid for their testimonials.
Meet Lee Platts, a renter whose possessions fill not only her apartment, but also the darkest corners of a mini storage unit. A land of both truth and fiction. Truth, everything inside is protected by Progressive. Fiction, one day Lee will fit into her clothes from senior year of high school. Renters, discover coverage for what you love and what you can't get rid of in Progressive's Protection Zone. Get a quote at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and third-party insurers.
Welcome to Whatever Bank, where we do our best and you do the rest.
Hi, what kind of relationship benefits do you offer?
Relationship benefits. That usually kicks in when you have more zeros in your account. But I like to think our coffee in the lobby is pretty decent.
You don't have to bank like that. Make the switch to KeyBank and earn real benefits by making 5 qualifying transactions each month with your KeyBank checking account.
I was going to do that anyway.
Learn more at key.com/relationship. KeyBank opens doors. KeyBank, member FDIC.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's Zach here. If you've listened to me the past few years, you know I love golfing. And the courses I keep playing are Aurora's 5 public courses. Spring Hill is one of the best hidden gems around, perfect for becoming a short game chef. And Saddle Rock, well, the mountain views never get old. Beautiful course conditions, great service, and the restaurants keep me coming back. Book your next tee time or learn more about lessons, leagues, and programs at golfaurora.com. And go ahead and follow them on Instagram at golfauroraco.
You're listening to the Honorable Judge Dan Jacobs on Denver Sports, 104.3 The Fan.
I don't know, man. Seems like, look at the RamosLaw.com text line. Seems like people are cranky today. In fact, there's an instance of, I could see that one of these texters was in a great mood yesterday and is just pissed off today. I don't understand it. So I'm looking at the RamosLaw.com text line, and I see a text come through while James is coming in, and it says, yawn. I can miss 3 months of the show and tune in, and I'm hearing the exact same thing. But then I look at the text this person sent before, because oftentimes I'll do that, because I'll try and see their perspective. Because generally, when people are highly negative, you can go up through their text history, and they're just negative people. They just all they do is throw hate and negativity and this and that. But in this case, this texter had texted in yesterday, when the drive, or it was either the drive or the morning show, was talking about the exact same thing that James and I were talking about at the very moment last segment about Nikola Jokic. And he was saying, this texter was saying, hey, new to the show, this is awesome. I love the discussion. And then ask a question about Nikola Jokic. I'm like, oh, wait a minute. Now, it is true. And we do have some audio to back this up, which we'll get to. It is true that we've been talking about the Nikola Jokic top 10 conversation for months now. That is true. And so it is funny because I happen to say, if you want to know, I love all the other shows on this station, but if you want to know what they're going to be talking about, just listen to the Dan Jacobs Show today, because they'll be talking about it either tomorrow or 3 months from now or whatever. In fact, we have, going back to this conversation about Nikola Jokic and top 10 or top 20. Do we have, yes, the morning show, Welcome to the Party. Do we have that? Can we pull that up, Joe? Because I just pulled the audio. I go through, I do lots of show prep, and I find things that the other shows have done that maybe we can discuss. And here it is. Here's the morning show.
He wins another championship.
Now you're starting to talk about who does he replace in that top 5.
Right. Does he even move up higher?
Right.
But he's absolutely locked into that top 10. That doesn't change moving forward.
Correct.
10, 20, 30 years. I don't think that changes. I'm comfortable with him cracking the top 10 right now.
Mm-hmm.
But if he doesn't win another championship, I'm sorry, I don't see him staying there. And as the years go by, as the decades go by, I think he drops further and further down.
All right, so that's interesting. I can't disagree. Actually, the only thing I would disagree with Mike is I don't think you can make him a top 10 player now just to take him out based on the same criteria. The reason he's not a top 10 player, and I thought this was a good discussion, Joe. You and I talked about it months ago. And so what I did was I printed out kind of the consensus top 10 players in NBA history. Now, there is no definitive answer, but these are the guys that most people agree are in the top 10. And I looked up how many championships they have and how many of them only have one championship. Well, the answer is 0. And the one guy that's even on the borderline, and I heard them talking about it this week on the station. I think it was, I think they were talking about it with Dover and Cecil. Maybe it was Shapiro filling in, but they were talking about it because Zach was talking about it, is this idea that Wilt Chamberlain is not a top 10 player. Well, he's the lowest on the totem pole with 2. He does have multiple championships, which I did not realize. I'd always thought he had 1. Now, they're making this argument that Wilt was so physically dominant that he gets overrated and he should have won more championships. The fact that he only won 2 really diminishes him as a player and makes him not a top 10 player. Now, if you actually go back and look at history, first off, he was playing during the most dominant era for any one dynasty in the NBA history. He had to face Bill Russell and the Celtics every time. And if you look back, his 2 championships were not a fluke. He had a lot of very close, heartbreaking losses in championship situations or conference championship situations. So it wasn't like he lost a bunch of games and he just scored a bunch of points. He wasn't like, but Carmelo's a good comp, right? Carmelo scored a lot and never won diddly poo, right? When it mattered. That wasn't Wilt. But I digress. I just wanted to mention that because people tend to discount physical dominance. Like Zach, I think Shaq does not get enough credit. He was simply an unstoppable force on the basketball court. But well, yeah, but look how big he was. Well, yeah. Yeah, and he was skilled. And are we going to say the same thing about Wemby? Yeah, he's 7'5" and he blocks shots. Well, okay. If I were 7'5", I'd be able to block shots too. Now, Wemby does more, right? At times he has like guard skills and he can shoot from the outside. Wemby's very impressive, but it's because he's 7'5". That's why. He's a freak of nature physically. That's why. Are we going to discount? Because right now he's the flavor of the month, but are we going to discount at the end of the career that Wemby, because he's 7'5"? No, we're not going to do that. Why are we doing that to Wilt? Wilt had to compete in a very, very tough era against a dynasty that had unlimited resources. But I brought up this conversation, I think it was 3 months ago, to be honest, to the texter, and I said, I know this is one of those topics where once they figure it out, the rest of the hosts on this station will be talking about it. So what I did was I printed it out, I did all the research, and then I left it here in the studio so that the other hosts could stumble upon it so they could think it was their own great idea. And one by one, they've kind of all filled in the gaps. Now, of course, we talked about it first, but so it's true. If you want to know what the morning show is going to be listening 3 months from now, just listen to the Dan Jacobs Show today. We just played proof of it. But Nikola Jokic is not top 10 now, because he does not win championships. He's got 1 championship, and it doesn't matter what he does, and he's probably got 3 to 5 elite-level years to go. If the Nuggets don't find a way to remake this roster in a way that can actually compete and not listen to the noise like James Marilat last segment saying, just throw money at the problem, well, they did. They threw money at the problem. And 2 out of the last 3 years, they spent over the tax threshold, and they did all that. They have not been cheap with player contracts at all. I think I have no problem criticizing the Rockies. I just want to be fair about it. And this notion that, and people buy it, like what James was saying, and James is not alone. What James is saying is it's embarrassing if they don't just spend the money and go $200 million, just essentially light $200 million on fire. If that meant they were actually going to compete for championships, I would be open to listening to that. But what people are saying is just blindly spend the money to bring back the same roster that doesn't work, that got embarrassed, that got humiliated in historic fashion yet again. And this time in the first round against the T-Wolves that were without their very best players. Like, what evidence do you have that says running it back with this same squad of mental misfits is going to get you any closer to a championship? They didn't lose in Game 7 of the Western Conference Finals. They lost in Game 6 of the first round against an injury-depleted team. Why on earth, who in their right mind would say, well, sounds good to me. Let's do it again. Let's just run it back. It makes no sense.
It's time to blow it up, Dan.
In a sense, it is. It's time to blow it up and reinvest in some players that have the makeup that can actually compete in the Western Conference.
They need to find their own version of the 2011 Mavericks, how they rebuilt the roster around Dirk Nowitzki and were able to compete and actually won a championship against LeBron and the Heat. I'm not saying they can do that in 1 year, but that kind of needs to be the goal. So, who's the modern equivalent of Jason Terry, Dan? Let's go.
Well, let's go. Let's bring it on. All right, we'll continue discussing this. We're also going to do how the Avalanche are kind of doing some similar things. I think they're doing the right thing. You could argue, hey, they just got rid of one of their best players in a clear salary dump, as they should. We'll keep the conversation rolling here on The Dan Jacobs Show.
The Colorado Avalanche have made a major move.
So we have some breaking news.
The Avs have traded veteran forward Valeri Nichushkin to the Columbus Blue Jackets, ending a 7-year run in burgundy and blue. In return, they get 3 draft picks, giving them 10 total ahead of Friday night's draft. What does this mean for the rest of the offseason? And what additional moves does Super Joe have up his sleeve?
Denver Sports 104.3. The Fan.
DeerTrailMeatCo.com, DeerTrailMeatCo.com. It's funny, we're having fun with the conversation about, do you talk to your neighbor when they're in the driveway and you say hi and all that stuff? We actually had a story. Travis Valine, the owner of Deer Trail Meat Co. company, was saying that happened while he was doing a meat delivery. He was delivering a half side of beef, and then a neighbor comes out and goes, "Hey neighbor, what's going on over there?" And he goes, "Oh, it's great. We're getting our beef from Deer Trail Meat Co." He's like, where'd you get that? He goes, "From the radio." He goes, "Oh yeah, the Dan Jacobs Show. Hold on 1 second." He runs in. He goes, honey, come out here. Look what they're doing." She goes, "What are they doing?" "They got beef from the guy on the radio." "Well, why don't you get some?" They put an order in right there because they saw their neighbor getting this delicious beef delivered to their front door from DeerTrailMeatCo.com. They were able to fill up their freezer at tremendous savings over the grocery store prices with a money-back guarantee. Neighbors helping neighbors. You can have the same goodness delivered right to your front door with that same money-back guarantee and those same tremendous savings. Just check them out. DeerTrailMeatCo.com. That's DeerTrailMeatCo.com.
We begin our tour with a unique piece, a relic from the early big screen television era. Remarkable. Next, we find a juicer, which historians believe has only ever been used once. And finally, compact discs from the emo era. A rare find indeed.
Some things should be history, but until then you could protect what's important to you and save by bundling your auto insurance with a renter's policy from Progressive. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and other insurers. Not available in all states or situations.
Hey, Green Gobbler here. So you've got a clogged drain in your bathroom. Water in the sink's overstaying its welcome. You're spitting today's toothpaste on top of yesterday's toothpaste. You hope that it go away. Yeah, clogs don't just go away. I make them go away. I'm Green Gobbler, the only clog dissolver you need. I'm bleach-free, safe for your pipes, and I work. Guaranteed or your money back. Because I never met a clog that was gonna unclog itself. Green Gobbler. Let the gobbler get it.
Hey guys, Mark Schlereth here from my friends at Spine One. Let me ask you a question. You live with back pain, neck pain. Well, my guys at Spine One, they're an emergency room for back pain with same-day appointments. They'll see you and they'll get the journey started. And that's exactly what I did. Whether it's chronic pain, acute pain, work-related, sports-related, doesn't matter. All you got to do is pick up the phone and start your journey just like I did toward pain-free. 303-367-2225. That's 303-367-BACK. Or as always, you can find them online at spineone.com.
Legacy means tomorrow matters. Hi folks, Dan Cicchini, Done Right Home Improvements. Tomorrow, next week, next month, 10 years from now, matters. My wife Susan and I started Done Right in our garage in 1985, and our family has always been focused on legacy. What we do, how we do it, how we treat people matters. As a result, we've grown to be one of the largest companies of our kind in Colorado, specializing in kitchens, baths, counters, floors, finished basements, windows, and doors. Here's our son Todd.
Dad, doing what's right shapes all of our projects. Whether a first-class kitchen renovation, a turnkey bathroom remodel, a full-service basement finish, or new windows and doors. We'll wow you with your project, your experience, and with an 8% scheduling incentive and a special financing rate of 0% APR with 72 equal monthly payments. Now couldn't be a better time. Dad?
Kitchens, baths, counters, and floors, finished basements, windows, and doors. You have our word, we'll treat you right at Done Right. Reserve your spot. Go to drhi.com. Thanks for listening.
Who helps keep Colorado's wildlife wild? Our people do.
Hello, my name is Patricia. I've been with Chevron for over 17 years.
Her team uses GPS to track where mule deer and pronghorn roam throughout the seasons. This data helps us take their habitats into consideration when planning our operations.
When we created our comprehensive wildlife and conservation program, it was really about what was possible.
Learn more at colorado.chevron.com.
It's the Honorable Judge Dan Jacobs on Denver Sports, 104.3 The Fan.
All right, now, Joe, you got big news. First off, where were you last week? We had John Sanchez filling in for you. Where were you last week? You at some exotic place?
Yeah, Telluride, Colorado. Very exotic.
Right. Yeah, you did tell me. How was that your first jaunt up to Telluride?
Yeah, first time. It was my dad's first festival ever. We did the Telluride Bluegrass Festival, and it was fantastic. I highly recommend the band Green Sky Bluegrass, not just because of the name, but kind of because of the name.
All right, cool. Now, you just told me some big news. You're going to see Rush.
Yeah.
In October, right here in the Mile High City.
Super excited. Can't wait. I've seen Rush probably 5 times. They're one of my favorite bands. They're my dad's favorite band. I got to meet Geddy Lee and Alex Lifeson backstage at Red Rocks when I was like 10 years old. It's fantastic. So it's kind of a thing with me and my dad. We're going to see Rush.
That's awesome. Congratulations. Yeah, we Derek from Parallax Auto, who's a loyal listener on the in fact, I think he gets in both. I think he actually does the Champ Honda YouTube text line and chat line, and then also he's all over the RamosLaw.com text line. But he's going to he's already got 4 or 5 cities booked to go see Rush. Like, he's been to one already, and he's talking about going to 3 or 4 more. Like, he's a total Rush maniac. Basically, the only thing I know about Rush is there was a movie with Paul Rudd and what's his name, Jason Segel.
I Love You, Man.
I Love You, Man. Yeah, that was they were kind of one of the key themes of that. So I know some Rush songs, but you were like, that's why I'm coming back with Rush on every break here. That's why I just came back with such and such, and I'm like, I never would have known the difference.
Yeah, Derek from Parallax Auto, I think, is the only one that did recognize. He's like, Dan, this is Rush, and I'm like, yes, sir.
Oh, is he on there? Yeah. So, all right, well, that's awesome. Congratulations. We were actually having this conversation at the dinner table last night. Concert tickets. For Rush they're a phenomenon, right? They must not tour very often. Is that the deal or what? Because everybody's all losing their mind.
Passed away, the best drummer of all time. So they haven't toured since they lost. They're a trio. So once one guy kind of goes, it's really hard to do anything. So they've replaced him with this chick who I don't know a ton about, but I guess she's awesome. So I'm stoked.
Yeah, and she had to learn. The story was she's young. She's like, I don't know Rush songs. So she had to learn all these Rush songs after she got hired, which is cool. But so my little daughter, Ellie, she loves Taylor Swift. And it was insane, right? Because we remember when Taylor Swift came through here, we were talking about $5,000 or $10,000 a ticket. I guess there were some tickets that were like as low as $1,000. But my daughter ever be able to go to a Taylor Swift concert? I mean, it's insane to think that's what's happened with things like this, that entire legions of fans may be completely priced out. And I think you said you got your rush tickets, you got a steal on them or something like that. Even what you, I'm not going to put your business out there, but even what you told me you paid, pretty crazy.
It's a lot, man. I don't mind saying we got them for about $200.
A person.
That surprised me. Yeah, for a person.
Yeah, I mean that's a lot. That's a lot of money for a ticket. But that's cheap. Like that's probably a steal for Rush. And now, which venue are they playing?
I'm pretty sure it's Ball Arena.
Okay, so that's Ball Arena. It's indoors. It's crazy. Like with Taylor Swift selling out in Power Field nights in a row. Like she did what? I think 2 shows.
Yeah, didn't Will Peterson go to both?
He at least went to one because he got tickets, and I think he was a little entrepreneur on because he just had to, on a pair of tickets as well. But yeah, he did a video clip that got like millions of views because it was like the Swifties were like, oh my God. So yeah, it's crazy. In fact, then I was reading an article today before the show. People are very upset in Buffalo because they're worried that they're getting a new stadium, and in that instance, they did get public money, taxpayer money. But the cheapest ticket right now to get into the home opener for that stadium, Joe, you want to venture a guess? 1 seat, the cheapest one you can get on Ticketmaster on the resale market.
On the resale market, especially, let's go $3,000.
No, see, you're way low, way high. I mean.
Wow.
High.
Okay.
$700.
Oh, okay.
So the fans are upset that the cheapest you can get into the stadium is $700. But it's kind of crazy that people want to blame the NFL on greed and that because we talk about the PSLs on the show a lot because I'm trying to advocate as much as I can, shine a light on the issue as much as I can, in hopes that maybe the Broncos will listen. But I think I did a disservice to the season ticket holder cause because last week, Joe, when you were not here, we had Jeff Wolf from Wolf Law, Colorado. We were talking about the Jonathan Cooper situation. And then I kind of blindsided him a little bit because his family is one of those families. They've had season tickets since, I believe, 1962, which, if I'm remembering correctly, was the second year that the Broncos were here. They've had them every year. And I'm trying to get at, well, are you going to pay the PSLs? Because every season ticket holder I talk to, they're saying no. Like, I'm not paying ridiculous money. And what Jeff was basically saying is, as long as I can afford it, I'm probably going to keep the tickets. As long as they give me enough financing options, I'm probably going to keep the season tickets. And I'm like, well, all right. Hopefully the Broncos aren't listening because that's music to their ears. So we'll have to see. But the thing is, people want to frame it as the teams are so greedy. They don't get – the resale market is not driven by the teams. The resale market is driven by us. How much are we willing to pay? And apparently we're willing to pay a lot of money to go to an NFL game per ticket. And yes, so you get the sob stories of, well, if I have a family of 4, I can't afford to go. That's true. And that boggles my mind. How did we get to this level, right? Where when I was growing up, it was sad because now it was a lot cheaper to go to a game, but athletes had to get second jobs in the offseason. They weren't financially set for life. Now it's swung. The owners and the players are financially set for life if they're smart with their money, but now the fan is basically getting priced out. And I'm like, how do we get here? This is like the sports are an escape. Now it's just become such huge money that they're pricing out their most loyal customers. And I wonder what the Broncos are going to do with that. The Bills, for example, actually have not done, they're doing the PSLs, but their tickets seem to remain relatively affordable. Broncos tickets as of right now, if you buy them from the team and you are lucky enough to get season tickets, are reasonably affordable. But once they hit the resale market, they're not. But that's because we are nuts as fans and we pay ridiculous prices. 4 things. So it's just a very interesting conversation that we continue to have. Will my daughter ever be able to go see Taylor Swift? Maybe. I don't. Well, because will she fall off? Right? Like some of these guys. Like I saw Pat Benatar. She was at once the biggest deal in music. I went and saw her and Bryan Adams. I don't know, 4 or 5 months ago over at Ball Arena. Actually, I won the tickets from like a company meeting here from the station, but they had to like rope off the top section like with a black tarp or curtain because they couldn't sell them out. So I don't know. Maybe Taylor falls that far down. Maybe 30 years from now, my daughter can go.
Catch her at her residency in Vegas.
Yeah, exactly. Those things are great. I went and saw the Eagles that way, right? So it'd be great at the Sphere if the Sphere is still around in 30 years. All right, coming up next, I was listening to this, the morning show. Evans, the moves the Avs are taking, does it vindicate Jared Bednar? We'll get into that coming up next.
The Colorado Avalanche have made a major move.
So we have some breaking news.
The Avs have traded veteran forward Valeri Nichushkin to the Columbus Blue Jackets, ending a 7-year run in burgundy and blue. In return, they get 3 draft picks, giving them 10 total ahead of Friday night's draft. What does this mean for the rest of the offseason? And what additional moves does Super Joe have up his sleeve? Denver Sports 104.3. The Fan.
Jacob's Law, 303-LAW-4040, 303-LAW-4040. I wanted to relay this story because a couple times a year, I always kind of do, with my advertising, I just kind of do a public service message and tell you there are 2 pieces of coverage you absolutely have to have. And those are MedPay and UIM, which is uninsured or underinsured motorist coverage. You want to have those because if you don't have them, you're just gambling that if you get into an accident and it's the other guy's fault, you're just gambling that they have good insurance. And up to 15% of the people out there don't have any insurance at all, in which case you're SOL, or they have the minimum, which is $25,000. Well, so I like to go through with every client. I go and look through their coverages and say, hey, you might want to consider this. Well, we were going through a policy right there on the spot, and this one lady, she had $25,000 in MedPay coverage, which was outstanding. Normally you get $5,000 or $10,000. She had $25,000. It cost her $31. That's what we're talking about, $31 for the coverage. She had UIM coverage, which was outstanding, and for the life of the policy, it was like $100 and some, whereas it was $2,000 for all of her other insurance. Like it's fractions of a penny on what those coverages cost you, and you absolutely need them. So MedPay and UIM. If you need if you have any questions, if you need anything, just give us a call, 303-LAW-4040.
Ben Franklin here to talk to you about water filtration. Unfiltered water in your home is no joke. Did you know tap water can shorten the life of your pipes and, even worse, be dangerous to your family's health? Our punctual plumbers can install a whole home system that filters water before it enters your pipes. Visit BenjaminFranklinPlumbing.com or call 877-BEN-1776 to request an appointment.
Go with the flow, the local pros call Benjamin Franklin Plumbing.
Independently owned and operated, licensed in their respective state or county.
Warmer weather is finally here, and that means cookouts,
ball games,
and maybe enjoying some time on the water.
But it also means lots of heavy foods, sweets, and maybe an extra adult beverage or 2. Thank goodness we both take Active Liver from New Nordic. Did you know your liver works around the clock processing food, sugar, alcohol, and everyday toxins? All the things that can really impact your health.
That's why daily support matters. Active Liver is designed to protect normal liver function and support your body's natural detox process.
With trusted natural ingredients like milk thistle, turmeric, and artichoke extract, it's gentle enough to take all year long.
No harsh cleanses, no extreme detoxes, just simple daily liver support. We really feel the difference.
Active Liver helps us enjoy the good things in life with peace of mind that our liver isn't working overtime. Active Liver is available online at Amazon or NewNordicUSA.com, and you can find it in stores at CVS, Meijer Grocery, Wegmans, and now Active Liver is available at your local GNC.
2026 is shaping up to be an amazing year to buy a home in Colorado. If you've been dreaming about getting into your first place, upgrading for more space, or downsizing for a simpler lifestyle, now is a smart time to start planning. And the first step is easy. Get pre-approved. With American Financing, you can get it done in 24 hours or less, so you'll know exactly what you can afford before you start shopping. Rates have been dropping, home prices are steady, and more homes are hitting the market. You you could score the right home at the right price and lock in a monthly payment that fits your budget without stretching yourself thin. And unlike renting, every payment you make goes toward your future, not your landlord's. And here's a misconception that they love to bust. You don't need 20% down. Many buyers purchase with as little as 3% down. So if home ownership is on your 2026 goals list, make it happen. Call American Financing, 303-695-7000. That's 303-695-7000, or visit them online at AmericanFinancing.net. NMLS 182334, NMLSConsumerAccess.org.
Hey, Robbie Andino here at BeatTheDA.com. I've handled over 7,000 cases and 300 trials. My entire family's military, and I want to carry that legacy over to helping you grunts and officers out. If you've got a divorce going on, or you got a domestic violence, or heck, if you've even been put in handcuffs, give me a ring immediately. I've never lost a DV trial. That leads me to be a beast in a courtroom, in a divorce case, in a custody case. Let's face it, the paper-pushing telephone softies can't compete. Hit me up at BeatTheDA.com or give me a ring, 720-706-5151.
KKFN and KKFN HD1 Longmont, Denver. You're listening to Denver Sports 104.3. The Fan. Denver Sports 104.3. The Fan presents the Honorable Judge Dan Jacobs.
I'm an Unsolved Mysteries guy. In fact, I have Unsolved Mysteries on right now here in the studio because there's no sports on, right? Or there might be World Cup, whatever. I heard them talking about this on the morning show this week, and they knew it wasn't me because I was out of town. But somebody is coming in here and unplugging all the stuff. Like if you're on the YouTube, see this thing I'm holding up? It's a power strip. They're just unplugging everything. Like, why? As Stokely goes through the list, could it be Cello? Could it be the Denver Sports Tonight guys? He says, I know it's not Dan T. I don't know. Like, why are people coming in and unplugging our technology? I don't get it.
Why?
By the way, happy birthday to Brandon Stokely. I did not text him. I was going to text him because he's 50 years old.
What? I didn't know it was his birthday. That's awesome. Happy birthday, Stoke.
It was like 2 days ago, and I normally wouldn't put this out there, but they were already talking about it, so I guess it was an ongoing topic. He got shingles. So he turns 50. So he obviously, we're talking about the manliness, right? Stokely considers himself a man's man. He drinks scotch and smokes cigars on the golf course and all that stuff. But we were doing a show together one time, and I had this thing in my pocket that started beeping, and it was called a tile. If you guys are familiar with these things, they're basically like little things, and you can, if you lose your keys, my wife had got it for me, you can ping your keys, just like you can ping your phone, right? And it blew his mind. Like, it was really upsetting to him that somebody, as they got older, would need some help remembering things, like where your car keys are, because and it was also the same. There was a button on there that could ring your phone if you lost your phone, right? And it was really annoying to him. He got all wigged out, and then we did the math, and he's actually older than me. So Brandon Stokely's, and he really freaked out about that. And he's 50 years old. And so I wanted to send him a text like, hey, man, what's it like to be 50? I'll get there someday, hopefully. You're a hero of mine. You got to 50. Because, he doesn't look 50. But I figure, I better just lay off it. But, let him celebrate his 5 decades on the planet with his shingles are no joke, man. I did get them one time, and for me, they didn't hurt that much, but they made me look like the Elephant Man. In fact, I know it was 8 years ago, so I got them when I was like early 40s because I had just gotten hired back here at the station, and I was working a July 4th show. Maybe it was July 3rd, and I had this weird shingle thing that it went through and made me look all deformed. And the head guy of the entire company at the time, Bob Call, he came back. I heard him come around the corner. He's like, where's Dan Jacobs? Dan's back? I got to see Dan. And then he comes and looks at me. He's like, oh, whoa, what's going on with you, dude? Quasimodo? So, yeah, shingles are no joke. I lucked out they actually weren't very painful, but apparently Stokely's got a very painful batch of the shingles. So good luck to him. Happy birthday. On the RamosLaw.com text line, Dan Jacobs Show and the Tribe are my shows. That's from McCrae. I think I'm saying that right, in Colorado Springs. Well, thank you. Yes, thank you very much. Joker isn't tough enough to be in the top 10. We need to use the 80s and 90s as the litmus test. He couldn't compete back then when the NBA actually played legit defense. I'm not buying that. Like, he's tough enough. Like, he's the only guy that showed any toughness in the playoffs when the T-Wolves were running up the score and doing cheap buckets. He was the only guy that took exception, that ran down there. I don't think it's a matter of, he's not Rick Mahorn, right? Like, he's not, Charles Oakley.
He's not Bill Laimbeer.
Yeah, he's not Bill Laimbeer. He's a lot better than they are. They played a certain way because they had to survive. But no, he plays a different way. Now you can make the argument, certainly, and he's taken a lot of heat, that it was embarrassing that he just made no effort. Like the T-Wolves would drive past the initial offender because none of those guys play defense, and they would just go straight to the rim unmolested. And these were no-name guys that were just like, and it was maddening to watch. And I think in one of those games it was because Jokic, I was giving him a pass because he was in foul trouble. He's like, well, he can't afford to contest anything. But it was pretty much the entire series. Like, that's part of the problem with the Nuggets. They just don't have any toughness like that. Like, I saw Gobert block Wemby. Why did he block him? Because he was trying, right? They're putting in the effort, which they don't do here. Now, on this top 10 conversation, Joe, I know you like the NBA too. This was an interesting conversation because I've caught a lot of flack in that I think he might be in there now, but for the longest time, I just didn't have LeBron in my top 10. When people are talking about, well, he's guaranteed to be the number 2, he might be number 1, he might be better than Michael, I'm looking at it, and I'm like, I don't understand how he could be in the top 10 because if I just look at, the way I look at it was like if I were starting a team or if I were building a team, is he above every other player that I would have? And I saw something this week online, and I don't know exactly when it was. It was fairly recently, but it was Larry Bird saying, well, if I were building my all-time top starting 5, and he went through it. And he says, well, at point guard, I got to get Magic. He was just one of a kind. Like, nobody else can replace what he's done, so I'm going to have him at number 1. Number 2, I'm going to have Michael. There's just no question. It's Michael Jordan. He's our 2 guard. He says at 3, yes, I'm going to put myself, but I'm only saying that. I'm not doing that to pat myself on the back. I'm just saying that because I knew how to compete. I was really good, and I would know how to play with these guys that I'm putting on the team. So I got to put myself at number 3. And then, God, he put Tim Duncan at number 4. And Tim Duncan is one of those guys that for me is a sneaky guy in my top 10. But if you look at Tim Duncan, he's got 4 or 5 championships, and he had to go through Shaq and Kobe to get them. So how do you? Yeah, I don't recall other than you give LeBron absolute credit for the one championship against Golden State, but it wasn't like he was going through Shaq and Kobe. So I have Tim Duncan over LeBron, and then obviously LeBron's not going to play center, and so Larry had Kareem, which I seriously wonder in today's day and age, that's one of those arguments that's fair to have is like, well, where would he still gets a lot of respect, but where would Kareem stack up, right? I would personally rather have Shaq, or probably Wilt, but a lot of people still say that Kareem is the number 1 guy.
Kareem was so good, though. His touch, his skills, and he could still dunk and overpower you as well.
Right.
Like, Kareem is kind of what Wemby would have looked like in the 70s and 80s.
Yeah, okay. So, looking at it from that perspective, I don't think it's outlandish to say that, because LeBron, 1 through 4, could be a candidate for any one of those slots, right? Like, he can play any one of those.
Yeah, but it's Larry Bird's list, so obviously he's going to put himself over. But, like, LeBron is better than Larry Bird. I think we can all agree on that.
I don't agree with that.
That's crazy, Dan.
It's not crazy. Have you? I understand he was before your time. Just go look at his highlights.
Oh, I've watched a lot of Larry Bird's fantastic. Larry Bird is a great player, but he's not better than LeBron James.
If I were starting a team, from scratch, I would rather have Larry than I absolutely would like to have LeBron. I just would. Like he was a killer. He was an absolute killer. Go watch the clips of other players talking about how maddening it was to go against Larry Bird, because he would just sit there, he would trash talk you to death, and then he would go do exactly what he said he was going to do. Right? Like he's I think early on in his career, he got a lot of hype because he was white. Now I think he gets a lot of not enough credit, because I think now as time's gone on, it's like, well, he's a white guy. He was insanely good. Insanely good.
Oh, he was great. He's a top 10 player, 1,000%. But LeBron is above him in the top 10.
Well, okay. But you're saying it's crazy, it's absurd. I don't think it is if you actually look.
No, LeBron's number 2. Bird is like 7 or 8.
7 or 8. All right. Well, I think you just disqualified yourself with your nonsense. All right, but
who else do you put above? So you're putting like you got
I
Wilt,
put all those guys
you
above
got Wilt, you got Bill Russell. No, above Larry Bird. You got Magic. You've got Shaq, Kobe. I'm even not even talking about guys that are still playing, like Steph. Like there's a lot. Tim Duncan. I put Tim Duncan over Larry Bird.
I put all those guys over LeBron. Well,
that's.
I mean, Steph was doing it and winning more championships than LeBron when LeBron was LeBron. It was Steph's league. So, but you're going to just because this is that hype train. Like, oh, well, because he was so hyped right out of high school and he came in and he's been fantastic. He's been great. I've never particularly enjoyed watching him because what it became very clear was with LeBron, they changed the rules of the game to make him and other guys superstars, where I don't think he would have been nearly as dominant. And it just, watching him tuck the football and take 4 or 5 steps to the basket and either bowl somebody over and get a cheap bucket or go to the free throw line and shoot 20 to 25 free throws a game, I just don't hold that in high esteem. It's just not my thing.
I agree with that. I don't like watching any of that either. That stuff drives me crazy. But his athleticism, like you put Larry Bird on any of those Cavaliers teams that made the finals in the early 2000s, they're not going to make the finals. Like Larry Bird is an amazing player. And that's the problem with these top 5, top 10s is you have to disparage somebody in order to put somebody above them. So it makes it sound like I'm not a Larry Bird fan. I love Larry Bird.
All right. I wanted to get into this conversation as well because it kind of dovetails a little bit. We were talking about, the reason we're talking about all this stuff is Jokic. They were talking about, just like we've been talking about, they were talking about on the morning show, is he even a top 10 guy now? Evans is like, well, he is now, but he won't be. Like, you can't do that. Either he is or he isn't right now, and you can't predict because what Evans is saying is, well, if he doesn't win another title, that'll take the shine off and you'll have to take him out. Well, but what if, like right now, we don't have a bunch of guys on track to win multiple titles. Every year it's somebody different. We want to believe that it's Wemby's going to win 5 or 10 or whatever. We don't know that. Everybody thought SGA was SGA going to be a dynasty? Obviously, they're not done yet, but they didn't even win 2 in a row. So you would have to have somebody pop up that wins multiple championships to knock Nikola out. I say he just can't get in because there's nobody else in the top 10 that doesn't have at least 2, and most of them have 3 or more.
Yeah, is Charles Barkley in your top 10, Dan?
He's not.
He's not in mine.
He's not. Although I think he was a fantastic player. I might want him more than I would like LeBron, to be honest with you. But I saw him play. I'm just not that impressed with LeBron. But there was a separate conversation, part of which we were kind of talking about with James. So, for example, on the Champ Honda YouTube chat line, who was it that said this? At that one guy, J139 says, Dan Jacobs giving it to James. Nice. Well, what I was giving it to James on was, I thought he's being unfair to Stan Kroenke. I don't know. Well, James is definitely a lot more critical of the Kroenkes than I am. But I don't know that anybody else in the market has been as objectively critical of the Kroenkes and KSE when they deserve it. But this notion that is getting more and more popular out there, I heard it on the morning show, James just said it on this program, is that the Kroenkes have a responsibility to just throw money at the Avs and Nuggets to try, like particularly with the Nuggets, the argument is, well, you got to get Nikola Jokic another championship. And so they just have a responsibility to spend every dime they can, which right now they're locked in. If that would look like them basically running it back and re-signing Payton Watson and running it back with almost the same team as last year that could not get out of the first round. And that's the piece that people are missing. Chad Andrus came on last week. He said the same thing. It's like, if you had any inclination that this team was close to a championship, well, then maybe that's a good argument. But they're not. They got run out of the first round by a much inferior team in really historically humiliating fashion. So why on earth would you just set $200 million on fire? Well, then some news came out this week that just how rich Stan Kroenke is. I thought they had at least a good discussion about it. Not that I necessarily agree with it, but on the drive, they were talking about that very subject.
And it's a segment on CNBC ranking the most valuable sports empires. That was the segment on CNBC.
Ooh, okay.
The most valuable sports empires in the world. And I did not have to watch the video long because Kroenke Sports Entertainment is now, after a 23% increase year over year, the number one sports empire in the world.
Can you say that again for people that are driving down the street?
According to CNBC, KSE, Kroenke Sports Entertainment, the ownership of the Rams, Avs, Nuggets, and Arsenal, is now worth over $26 billion and is the number one sports empire in the world, over Jerry Jones and his conglomerate, over the Fenway Group that own the Red Sox and others. The number one sports empire in the world is Kroenke Sports Entertainment. So I just want to say this out loud. How bad of a look would it be in the same week that you come out as the number one sports empire in the world with a 23% increase year over year to get you over $26 billion? How bad of a look would it be if in the middle of Nikola Jokic's prime, when he's in contention for MVP for 6 consecutive years for the first time since Larry Bird, if smack dab in the middle of that, you move players to shed salary so you don't have to write a check for the luxury tax. In my humble opinion, that would be a piss poor look if I am KSE.
But you know what, Z? Maybe that's why there's no movement being done. We thought that Cam Johnson or AG was going to be attached to the first pick or the first round draft pick. That didn't happen. The next night, we thought, okay, AG, Cam Johnson, maybe even Zeke Naji is going to be attached to the second round pick. That didn't happen. Everything is quiet in that building. Maybe Josh Kroenke's saying, you know what, we're getting ready to do this. People are doubting us. They don't think I will pay this luxury tax. This is our only way and the best way to try to win a championship with Jokic and keep him happy. Maybe that's what's getting ready to happen, ZB, is they're bringing the core back, they're going to sign Payton Watson, and we're going to go and move on with what we have right now, and you hope that they can stay healthy.
That would be something. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think.
That's what it looks like right now.
But also let's see what happens once July 1st hits. The activity in the NBA, one, it's happening right now, right? We just saw LaMelo Ball and get traded. Julius Randle got traded. So you can be active, but I think over the next 2 weeks, I think you're going to see a lot of movement. We just saw the Giannis trade, of course, right? I have to mention that. But you mentioned keeping Jokic happy, man. I'm so interested because Jokic, see, the Nuggets have got lucky in so many ways here. One, you ran into Jokic on accident.
Second round.
Now you get the credit. Tim Connolly gets the credit for drafting Jokic. But as Tim Connolly told me to my face sitting in the studio, if we thought Jokic was Jokic, we would have taken him in the first round.
He wouldn't have been our Taco Bell commercial.
Yeah, he wouldn't have been our third player picked in that draft if we knew what we had in Jokic. But you do get the credit. But in some ways, you ran into the best developmental story in the NBA's history, the only second-round draft pick to ever win MVP. You ran into that by accident. But you ran into something else by accident, too, that you did nothing for, but you get just because. You accidentally drafted the most lowest maintenance NBA MVP ever. Like, this guy does not throw his weight around. Giannis goes to the table 2 years ago and is like, dude, this ain't cutting it. Do something. They do a mega trade for Dame Lillard.
But nice guys finish last.
That doesn't work, and then now he's out and he's playing for the Miami Heat. So, like, I am so curious if Jokic is at the point in his career. A lot about Jokic has changed, right? little stuff. Jokic used to wear the team-issued sweats into the arena on a game night. This is why I called him the anti-NBA superstar.
He did not care.
And then now he wears suits and $10,000 watches.
Well, that's his wife right there.
He's maybe, but he's grown up. He's evolved. The way he takes care of his body is different than 8 years ago, right? And now he's even cranking it up in that department, judging by the recent pictures. But I'm just pointing out, Jokic has evolved as a person, as a man, and I wonder if he, for the first time in his career, would apply pressure to this organization, because he has not signed that extension.
All right, so that was the conversation. Sorry, I get my headphones and all this stuff ready now. So
we were just lost listening to the wonderful tones of Zach Bye and Philip Lindsay, Dan.
I know. So that was the conversation they had, and there's a couple things I was trying to look up actually while I was listening to them. The news that Stan Kroenke is the owner of the biggest sports empire in the country, in the world, I guess, it's actually quite remarkable if you look at how this thing started.
Now, is it the largest in terms of land and money, or just land, or does it say right there?
Well, I don't think it's land. I think he's separately, if you believe reports, recently became the largest landowner in the United States.
Financially?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, no, I think geographically.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, like he owns more land, square footage, or whatever, acreage, than anybody. And it's funny because I was talking to somebody that worked for him 4 or 5 years ago, and I said, hey, man, what makes this guy tick? And he says, well, he basically wants to be Ted Turner. He wants to be known as a sports owner mogul, like Ted Turner was back in the day, and he wants to buy land, like because Ted Turner had a bunch of land. So he kind of basically wanted to out Ted Turner, and he's done it. But the thing is, I will say this. One of the things that if you wanted to, you could admire about Stan Kroenke is, I believe, now I don't know that I'm 100% on this, right? But I believe that he did not come from a bunch of money. I think, at least it's my understanding, and I could be wrong, the way he made his money was he married Ann Walton, who was Bud Walton's daughter, I believe, from Walmart fame. But he didn't just take her money. Like, she still has her own separate fortune. She's worth, if you believe Forbes, $14 billion. But when they started, so she's like it's funny, I was talking to Chad Andrus about this week. She's like one of the poor Waltons. She's only worth $14 billion. And when they started this journey, so I think what happened was, not that maybe she loaned him some money, maybe she didn't, but he leveraged his knowledge of the Walmart family to then go, he would find out where new Walmarts were coming before anybody knew, and he would go get the land around them, and he made himself a billionaire with his connections and his, in-laws and all that stuff. But when he first started, I don't remember exactly what it was, but 15, 20 years ago, I was looking at, well, how much is this guy worth? How did he get his money? And they were both worth about, I think at that point, $5 billion apiece, or maybe they were both worth 10. And I remember she was on the low end of the family fortune, right? So it's amazing just how much wealth, because they still have it. Like a lot of dynasties, they either give all the money away because they realize it's kind of a curse to have that much money, or subsequent generations, like the Vanderbilts, they just blew it. To see a family that 3 generations in, they're all still billionaires is crazy. But to see that Stan Kroenke had a goal, and when he started, it's one thing if like Warren Buffett gets out of bed tomorrow and says, hey, you know what I want to do? I want to own an island, or I want to do whatever, right? Like he's just, he's famously modest. But when you're one of the richest people in the world, it's not that big a deal. But when you started with not being one of the richest people in the world and say, I have a goal and I want to own all this land and I want to do this. Hey, there's something to be said for that. And he reached his goal. So there's something to be said for that. Now, to continue the conversation about this idea that, and by the way, I heard it on the clip. They were at the brouhaha yesterday, and fans at the place in Nevada that they were at were cheering and clapping as Zach was doing his bit. I can't agree. Now, James is talking about, they don't have training facilities and they don't spend on coaches and they don't do this and they don't do that. Well, I know why they don't do it, because Stan Kroenke is a businessman. He doesn't care. If you are the owner of the Colorado Avalanche and you enjoy your money, what benefit? I understand people say it's embarrassing. Well, he's not embarrassed. You can only be embarrassed if you allow your own mind to say I'm embarrassed, right? He doesn't allow himself to be embarrassed. So he's not embarrassed that the Avalanche play at Family Sports and Fun Center and that you can be eating, stadium nachos and playing Street Fighter and Grand Theft Auto and then go over and take in an skate. Like, he doesn't care. To him, it's like, why would I spend $2 or $3 million on a new facility for these hockey players when we run tight budgets on the Avalanche? What benefit am I getting out of it as the owner? If the answer is none, but I get to feel better about myself, then I'm not going to spend the money. What benefit? We have a team that just flamed out in the playoffs in the Nuggets in the first round. Why would I go spend $50 million on some hotshot coach when the roster's not good enough? I'm not going to do it. I don't care if people say I'm cheap. I can buy whatever I want. We'll continue the discussion. But I just have to, and I think Joe had some fair comments on this as well. I can't get on board with attacking Kroenkes for not. They call it, like, when you're gambling, you're chasing good money with bad. Like, he shouldn't have to chase bad money, even though he's rich. We'll get your thoughts on it as well. It's the Dan Jacobs Show rolling along.
The Nuggets went shopping for athleticism, experience, and depth in the NBA draft. Denver grabbed Arkansas forward Trevin Brazile, a 6'10" playmaker with elite-length, explosive athleticism. Then added Bryce Hopkins, a physical wing from St. John's who helped lead the Red Storm to Big East titles and brings toughness, rim pressure, and versatility. Are these second-round picks the next hidden gems to develop alongside Nikola Jokic? Denver Sports 104.3. The Fan.
DeerTrailMeatCo.com. DeerTrailMeatCo.com. It's funny. I had lunch with my mom the other day. I had a good time, but we got to talking about meats and stuff, and I was saying, yeah, man, like, some of these things, you just can't afford it. And I can't remember what I was talking about, but she was like, heck, that. Not only that, but like, even hamburger. I'm not even buying as much hamburger as I used to because it's $8 or $9 a pound. It's just her and my stepdad. And she's like, it's almost a splurge to get ground beef to make hamburger stuff. Like, that's the way it is out there. Beef prices have gone insane. They've gone through the roof. But the answer is DeerTrailMeatCo.com. First off, it's tremendous beef. It's locally raised. It's Colorado ranch to table goodness. They don't have all the hormones and all that stuff. It's right there on the Valine. It's raised right there on the Valine family farm in Bennett, Colorado, and then taken to the Meat Locker in Deer Trail, Colorado. So it's all good, fresh, local stuff, but tremendous savings, up to 75% off what you pay at the grocery stores. And that's for all your meats, your fillets, your ribeyes, your roasts, your round steaks, your cube steaks, your ground beef, all of it included at a tremendous savings, up to 75-80% off what you're getting in the grocery stores. And they deliver it to your front door with a money-back guarantee. Check them out, DeerTrailMeatCo.com. That's DeerTrailMeatCo.com.
Meet Lee Platts, a renter whose possessions fill not only her apartment, but also the darkest corners of a mini storage unit. A land of both truth and fiction. Truth, everything inside is protected by Progressive. Fiction, one day Lee will fit into her clothes from senior year of high school. Renters, discover coverage for what you love and what you can't get rid of in Progressive's Protection Zone. Get a quote at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and third-party insurers.
This summer, the Honey Pepper Pimento Chicken Sandwich and Pineapple Dragon Fruit and Sprite are back at Chick-fil-A.
Girl, it's back. We've been waiting. I love that honey pepper pimento sandwich.
And that pineapple dragon fruit and Sprite is everything. It's got that razzle-dazzle that makes you stop and say, okay, wait a minute.
I love the creaminess of the pimento cheese. It's savory, it's bold, it's flavorful.
Our faves are back. High five, girl.
Which fan favorite will you choose? Real customers paid for their testimonials.
Let the big dog eat. What's up, guys? Zach here, and I am all in on golf these days. Always looking for for tee times, booking lessons, and saying yes to rounds with friends. And that's why Aurora has become my go-to for playing and practicing. Yes, we're talking about practice. From beginners just starting out to competitive players, Aurora Golf has a course you'll love. All 5 courses are in beautiful shape, the staff are super friendly, and the value, man, it's tough to beat. Book your next round tonight at golfaurora.com and give their Instagram a follow at golfaurora.co.
Switching your account numbers is hard. Being forced to switch, even worse. That's why at Belco Credit Union, we want to pay you to switch. From June 1st to August 31st, we're offering a $300 bonus when you open a new checking account with a qualifying direct deposit of $500 or more. They changed your account number. You can change who you bank with. Go to belco.org/switch for full offer details. Insured by NCUA. Membership eligibility required. Conditions and restrictions apply. Belco. Banking for everyone.
My father started Williams Jewelers in 1947 as a humble little neighborhood jewelry shop, and I opened our Cherry Creek North store in 1973. I'm Bruce Williams.
And I'm Michelle Williams. I literally grew up here in the jewelry business, grading diamonds and gemstones and designing custom jewelry for families just like yours.
Here at Williams Jewelers, you'll find our curated collections, including Hearts on Fire, Lake of Bahar, Sloan Street, Mastaloni pearls, and dozens more.
And a diamond and bridal department with the latest engagement ring styles and wedding bands from Tacori, A. Jaffe, and Gabriel & Company.
Add to that Tag Heuer sporting watches and pre-owned Rolex timepieces, all at the guaranteed best prices in Colorado.
At Williams Jewelers, we're proudly old school Cherry Creek North, where people and sweet puppies are always welcome.
And where you'll always be treated just like our father would.
Like family.
Williams Jewelers, we can make diamonds a part of your life.
The official jeweler of the Colorado Avalanche.
You're listening to the Honorable Judge Dan Jacobs on Denver Sports, 104.3 The Fan.
All right, we'll continue this conversation, and then I'll get to some of your text messages and comments on the Denver Sports YouTube Shop Honda chat line. Go ahead and, hey, do us a favor. Go to YouTube right now. Check us out. You can check out the show. We'd love to have you take in some of our video and stuff like that. We'd appreciate that. So what we were talking about is Stan Kroenke and this notion that, okay, by the way, it's funny because if you look up his net worth on like Forbes, they say he's worth about $23 billion, but if his empire is worth $26 billion alone, he's probably worth a lot more. He's probably worth $40 or $50 billion because his empire is not just the with the Rams, for example. It's not just he owns the Rams. He also owns, SoFi Stadium and all the stuff around that. Just like the Walton Penner Group's going to own all the stuff around Burnham Yard, and I think they're gonna build 2 neighborhoods, and the mixed use. I'm sure there'll be at least a hotel or hotels and shopping and retail and all that stuff. So their net worth will explode even more. So he probably started with relatively modest amounts, and he got married. He married well, and now he's probably worth $50 billion, not including the 15 that his wife is worth. It is a little alarming if you look, and I think the thing that made me really notice it, the explosion of the billionaire class in worldwide and in this country is a little bit scary. I noticed it because of Robson Walton. When he bought the team, I think he was worth $45 to $50 billion, which is huge. I mean, it's huge. What was it, 20 years ago when Bill Gates cracked $1 billion or $2 billion or $10 billion? You're like, wow, richest man on the planet. And now, so when you look at Robson Walton being worth $50 billion, you're like, wow, that's a lot. Well, just 3 or 4 years later, it's tripled. He's worth like $150 billion. So that is worrisome for me. But that's a little bit on a side subject. So the question becomes now, okay, well, the story comes out. Stan Kroenke, he's owns the biggest sports empire in the world, sports franchises, largest landowner in the world. Why can't he just spend whatever it takes on the salary cap. And I think the answer to that might surprisingly be is because he allowed his subordinates, the people running the Nuggets, to be too generous. I think that's really what it boils down to, right? I almost think it's unfair to Stan Kroenke because everybody wants to criticize him for everything. And there's plenty to criticize there. But to say he didn't spend money on the Denver Nuggets is not true. Now, you could criticize he went cheap on key executive positions and they spent his money foolishly. You could make that argument that if he wasn't so cheap in retaining quality personnel in the executive offices, maybe he wouldn't be in this pickle.
Yeah, I would say that, yeah.
But the fact is, they paid. They paid MPJ. They paid Aaron Gordon. They paid Christian Brown.
They paid KCP. Oh, wait, no.
Well, because they paid all the other guys. They couldn't afford them, right?
No, they could. They just
Aaron
didn't want
Gordon. No, KCP wanted how much? Like
$20 million.
$20 million a year?
Yeah.
Well, are you saying that they should have? He was producing the last game he played, the last series he played for the Nuggets. He was producing at a $20+ million level.
His three-point shooting and his defense made a big deal. You would have had somebody else, and you could have also had Christian Brown continue to come off the bench, or honestly, KCP probably becomes one of your better bench players, and he's a really good depth piece. Or you just move the contract a year later anyway, but their constant unwillingness to just move a little bit over, and like you said, with the executives and now with David Adelman, like there are better options out there, and they just always go the cheap route.
Well, their argument is because it works. It works with the Rams, where we got a Super Bowl championship, and we're a contender. It works with the Nuggets, where we got our very first ever NBA championship. It works with the Avalanche, where we got a championship 4 years ago. It works with, now this one I'm not sure on, because now they're kind of victory lapping on the Arsenal, right? And I don't know about soccer, so I took that hook, line, and sinker, right? I'm like, oh, they're the champions, right? They're Premier League champions.
But in the Premier League, the champion is just the best team in the regular season.
Right. So then they went to the playoffs and they lost. And you know what they did after they lost the championship? They had a parade celebrating their championship.
Well, it's two different things. It's like a separate tournament. It's kind of like the in-season tournament, Dan, but in soccer, it's like way more important.
I
know.
They
lost that, but you know what? They were regular season champs, so let's have a parade.
Right. So it's like the Colorado Rockies 1998 wild card champions or whatever they were, right? So their argument is it works because look at all these championships we win. My argument has been, dude, you've had 90 attempts and you've gotten 4 titles. And one of those, if we're being honest about it, you backdoored into because they won it the year you bought the team. Like you didn't do anything, right? So I don't know that argument holds up, but what they believe is they have a talent. The reason why so many guys leave for more money is because they have a keen eye in developing executive talent. That's why they won a championship after Tim Connolly left. So that's what they believe. I don't buy that. But there's this criticism, and the reality is they're stuck in a bad position with the Nuggets right now. They spent $20 million over the salary cap or luxury tax in the NBA twice. That's why they're in trouble, because now if they do it again, they're in repeater territory. And I don't know that they're going to be able to avoid the tax. I don't know, because NBA rules are so stinking complicated. But at a minimum, I think the only way that they can get all the way under the cap NBA's weird. It's like they have a cap, but then you can spend over the cap until you get to the luxury tax. So then what's the cap for, right?
There's literally like 4 different levels to it, Dan. I'm going to Google them right now and we'll get it straightened out.
But I don't think they can. A lot of this talk is about, well, they are going to get under the tax completely, so that they can avoid the repeater tax, which is one of the things that's going to be killing them. But I don't see how they do it, because you can only trade to teams that can take on the salary. And there's very few of them right now. Because some of them just did deals. I think there's only maybe 3 or 4 teams that they could dump Jamal Murray or Aaron Gordon, or because they really need to do that. They would essentially, to be safe, they'd need to really dump AG and Jamal Murray.
I think they need to drop 2 of the 4 starters, and you can kind of play mix and match there. But they can also get back a guy who they can waive and save all of his contract money as long as he doesn't have multiple years left on his deal. So if they get a guy who's got 1 year left at $20 million, they can waive that guy, spread that $20 million out, and save that on the cap this
so
year.
for example, Cam Johnson only has 1 year left. If they trade Cam Johnson, Cam's new team could just waive him and spread the cap hit over 4 or 5 years or whatever it is. That's what you're saying.
Exactly. So like Kyle Kuzma for Milwaukee has a $20 million contract that's about to expire. You could give them whatever you want and then just waive that guy and have $20 million to spend probably on Payton Watson.
Right. So that would be smart for those 2 teams just to swap those guys. They both get cut, and then there's $20 million gone.
I think the Nuggets end up doing something like that, but attaching some of their picks to it to get the other team to say yes.
Yeah. So I don't know how they're going to do it, but I just think it's a little unfair to say that they never spend money, because with the Nuggets, they've spent to the hilt. They just did it poorly. They gave out bad contracts. Jamal Murray is not worth $55 million because you can't win with the best player in the sport. You can't win in the playoffs with him. Christian Brown, he had 1 good year, and you're giving him $20+ million a year. Some people calling it the worst contract in the NBA. Aaron Gordon, we all love him. He's about to hit you for $32 million a year, and he can't stay on the court. You're not going to be able to win with him. So it's not that they didn't spend the money. It's that they didn't spend the money wisely. And if they just ran the whole thing back like everybody wants them to do, and it'll be $200 and some million of tax additional. Like the payroll would be $200+ million for these players that got embarrassed in the playoffs, that can't win, that can't compete. And then on top of that, he's just going to give up $220 million of his own money for no reason for this group of chuckleheads that get embarrassed? That doesn't make any sense. The fact of the matter is, if you really care about Nikola Jokic's prime and getting him another title, they need to reboot. We don't have any evidence that really suggests that this group of players that got humiliated is going to all of a sudden be good next year. Good enough to beat all the teams that are on the rise, particularly in the Western Conference, but you could say even in the Eastern Conference, like in the NBA. We just saw the Trailblazers got better. I don't know if the Timberwolves got any better, to be honest with you, but like teams are on the rise, and so the Nuggets are just going to run back the exact same team that underachieved this year, and they're just going to be better because they threw away $200 million. I don't see it. They need not to save Stan money. They need a reset to save Nikola's career. That's what they need. All right, coming up next, they're kind of doing the same thing with the Avalanche, and I'm all for it. We'll get into that next.
The Denver Nuggets are staring at a crossroads. So what does this mean for the core, the future, and the window that was supposed to stay wide open?
I haven't heard a good plan yet from anyone. I love this stuff. I cannot think of a rock solid plan right now. I haven't heard a rock solid plan, and there's smart people that I listen to locally and nationally that talk about this stuff at a high level, and I'm saying the same thing. I still have not heard a good plan.
Denver Sports 104.3. The Fan.
Jacob's Law, 303 Law 4040, 303 Law 4040. Now, I had an incident this week, not an incident, a meeting in the office where it really illustrated why I tell you guys to check your policies. Make sure you have what's called MedPay, medical payments coverage, at least $5,000, and make sure you have UM/UIM coverage. I can't decide how much you want to have. I would at least have $100,000 coverage in the UIM and at least $5,000 in MedPay. I was meeting with a new client the other day. I said, let me take a look at your coverages. And she had her MedPay. She had $25,000 of coverage. And MedPay is like free money if you're in an accident. You want to have it. She had way more than most people have. And I looked how much it cost her. $31 for that coverage. I looked at her UIM coverage. She had $300,000 on the UIM coverage, and it was $100 and some odd dollars. Pennies on the dollar as to what she was paying for the rest of her insurance coverage. You want to make sure you have that MedPay and UIM. If you have any questions about it, just give us a call. We're happy to talk to you. 303-LAW-4040. That's 303-LAW-4040.
This feeling is brought to you by Aleve for Arthritis Pain Relief. What feeling is that? Well, it's the feeling you feel when you have relief from arthritis pain. It's that my hands don't hurt just holding things feeling. That wow, I can actually move well feeling. You know, that go about your day without worrying about every little movement or ache feeling. Oh yeah, because Aleve targets arthritis pain at the source of inflammation for long-lasting relief, so you can keep moving through it. Feel up to 12 hours of arthritis pain relief with one dose. Feel Aleve. Use is directed for minor arthritis pain.
Veterans and active duty service members, when your call to service ends, your mission doesn't have to. Go from GI to IT in just a few months at My Computer Career. Prepare for a high-demand career in cybersecurity, protecting people, systems, and institutions from real cyber threats. Cyber warriors are needed now. Will you answer the call? Go to mycomputercareer.edu/CWP to learn more. That's mycomputercareer.edu/CWP, an Elite CompTIA certification partner. VA education benefits are available to those who qualify.
Smart homeowners know that proper maintenance of their home's AC can save a bundle in the long run. Trust our comfort specialists at 1 Hour Heating and Air Conditioning to keep your AC running strong. A proactive tune-up can actually help your AC run more efficiently and save you money on your electric bill. Call 855-1-HOUR or visit onehourair.com. We won't leave you waiting. Sing it with me.
Always on time or you don't pay time. Always on time or you don't pay time.
Independently owned and operated, licensed in their respective state or county.
Welcome to Whatever Bank, where we succeed in doing the bare minimum.
Yeah, hi. I normally get paid on Fridays. Is there any way I can get my direct deposit sooner?
Oh, you're serious?
You don't have to bank like that. Make the switch to KeyBank and get access to eligible direct deposits up to 2 business days early with Early Pay.
So it is possible.
Learn more at key.com/earlypay. KeyBank opens doors. KeyBank member FDIC.
If the world were like a Sleep Number mattress, everything would adapt for your comfort. Because as your life changes and your body changes, Sleep Number mattresses adapt and shift to give you personalized comfort night after night. And right now, new mattresses start at $1,500 during our 4th of July sale. To experience a whole new world of comfort, visit a Sleep Number store or go to sleepnumber.com. Sleep Number. To a good life sleep.
Hey, Green Gobbler here. So you've got a clogged drain in your bathroom. Water in the sink's overstaying its welcome. You're spitting today's toothpaste on top of yesterday's toothpaste. You hope that it go away. Yeah, clogs don't just go away. I make them go away. I'm Green Gobbler, the only clog dissolver you need. I'm bleach-free, safe for your pipes, and I work. Guaranteed or your money back. Because I never met a clog that was gonna unclog itself. Green Gobbler. Let the gobbler get it.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Rob Biandino here at BeatTheDA.com. My law firm's doing a ton of divorce cases these days. And the bottom line is I see a lot of controlling spouses. They try to control and threaten you with calling the police. They threaten you with taking the kids. But the worst ones are to control the money. The ones who control the money, we got to get to the bottom of. We got the investigators. We got the forensic guys. We got the experts, the bank guys. They can go find and track whatever's hidden. At the end of the day, hit me up at BeatTheDA.com or 720-706-5151.
Colorado, it's time to take our recycling to the next level. That's why Recycle-On Colorado is bringing you more curbside and drop-off service from peaks to prairies. Guidelines as clear as our skies, so you know what goes where. And the price? As free as gawking at bighorns on I-70. You deserve a recycling system you can count on, like your puffiest winter coat. And we're here to give it to you. Learn more at recycleon.org/Colorado.
It's the Honorable Judge Dan Jacobs on Denver Sports, 104.3 The Fan.
All right, let's do a little text line reaction here. Like I always say, if you text into the RamosLaw.com text line or the Champ Honda YouTube chat, and you come with something passionate, you can even disagree with me. We'll make you famous. We'll read your stuff here on these very airwaves. So this one says, Dan, you have no idea about soccer. EPL is a regular season only league. They won the league. Then there's the Champions League, which is all the top teams from all the big leagues in Europe, and that's the tournament. I understand that.
Yeah, wasn't that our point? That the league doesn't have playoffs, and it's kind of funny to celebrate not winning playoffs?
Right. That's what I'm saying. Like, oh, so they got to the playoffs and didn't win, but they're the champion. Like, come on, man. Like, I understand that's the way it is, just like in NASCAR. Supposedly the Daytona 500 is the big thing, and they do that first. I understand it's different other places, but to me, I'm not giving him credit because they weren't the best in the sport. That's what we're talking about. When we talk about championships, so no, because for a minute there I said, well, he's won 5 major championships in almost 90 attempts. Now it's back down to 4. And I said one of them it's questionable because he just bought the team. He didn't really do anything. And so that's actually the second part of this text, which started with, Dan, you have no idea about soccer. And I have a retort to that. Texter, you have no idea about hockey because this is what he said about hockey. Also, the Nordiques didn't have Waugh. The Avs traded for Waugh, if memory serves, and he was obviously a gigantic reason they won the Cup that year. Feel free to give them some credit for that. Also got Mike Keane in a trade, I believe. Well, most of that is true. However, I can't give the Cronkies credit for that because they didn't own the team. You're talking about the wrong championship. What was it, Comsat? I think of the name of the Comsat. It was a kind of an entertainment group. They bought the Avs and Nuggets. They won that first championship. Then they sold, I want to say 5 years later. And so that was their second cup that Kroenke had come in. They were already a championship-built team, and they were fighting the Red Wings every year and all that stuff. So watch what you say there, Texter. I'm just kidding. Dan, what's up? Doing a fun thing where I make a dish for each country in the World Cup, one by one each day. Any suggestions for Qatar? That's from Braden Quinn. I've been to Qatar. Beautiful airport. It's like they said to themselves, we have more money than we know what to do with. Let's just build a Beverly Hills in the middle of an airport. And so they constructed this airport that's like walking down Rodeo Drive. I ate because we had a huge layover, I ate at the Armani Steakhouse. Like, what has one to do with the other? I don't know.
I Texter making Armani Steakhouse steak. That's your dish for Qatar.
That's it. Now, they had these really good fingerling potatoes and stuff like that. I don't know what they eat in Qatar because I was in the airport and it was all geared towards, Americans or whatever. Which, by the way, here's an interesting question, Joe, and listeners. Sometimes Americans get a bad rap. They say we don't have culture. Very bland, very boring. We don't appreciate art and culture and all that stuff. Is that fair to say that we get a bad rap on that sometimes?
I feel like people on the internet try to say that without really understanding. So I guess, that is kind of a bad rap, Dan.
Or not even just the internet, just young people that want to hate. Haters going to hate. Well, my lovely wife, Kimberly, from 303 Law 4040 claim, had an interesting observation. We went over to Ireland, and guess what? All the radio stations were playing American artists. Guess what was everywhere? American stuff. Our culture was dominating Ireland. And I think it's similar to that because our pastor at our church right now, he's from South Africa. He knows all this stuff like about Back to the Future, about American stuff. I'm like, how do you know that? Growing up in a different country. And he's like, he had some word for, like, phrase for it, like, because when America sings, the whole world listens or something like that. I'd like to buy the world a Coke. I don't know. But basically, our culture is all over the place. So we can take some pride.
So you know what? You're welcome, the world.
Yeah, you're welcome, world. Broncos are facing similar challenges next offseason. Bunch of starters with expiring contracts and little cap room. And Nick's eligible for a new contract. So, yeah, I've actually looked at the Avalanche, and they're doing pretty good right now. With the Nuggets, did they go cheap on coach? Yeah, they did. But I understand. If they've created, like we've been led to believe, this quagmire of contract death that they have to find their way out of, well, then why would you pay a coach? Why would you pay
to win?
But if they're acknowledging that we need to reset a little bit and that next year would hopefully be a year where they get to find a little chemistry and stuff like that. If you're Stan Kroenke, because what's a good coach cost the NBA? $10 million a year? 15? I have no idea. It's probably 10. Like,
sure, let's go with 10.
Well, it's $10 million. That's a lot of money. I don't care if you're, a Walton or not.
You're going to make more than that for winning a championship. And you know what's a great way to make sure you win a championship next year is have a coach that can develop your players this year.
Okay. Is that a myth? Because there's this idea out there that if you win, you're going to make more money. Has Stan Kroenke figured that out?
I mean, you play more games, so yeah, you're going to make more money.
Well, not necessarily, not if you're paying players more. We'll get into that on the next hour of the Dan Jacobs Show.
The Colorado Avalanche have made a major move.
So we have some breaking news.
The Avs have traded veteran forward Valeri Nichushkin to the Columbus Blue Jackets, ending a 7-year run in burgundy and blue. In return, they get 3 draft picks, giving them 10 total ahead of Friday night's draft. What does this mean for the rest of the offseason? And what additional moves does Super Joe have up his sleeve?
Denver Sports 104.3. The Fan.
DeerTrailMeatCo.com. That's DeerTrailMeatCo.com. I want you to check out the website. They got cool things on there. There's actually like a tool where you can kind of build your bundle and say how I want it structured. Like, because when you buy a half cow, some of that's going to be round steak. You can do different things with that. You can get it sliced for jerky style. Some people actually like to marinate, tenderize it and marinate it for steaks. I like mine just turned into hamburger. Other people like to just turn it into cube steaks, stuff like that. You can customize your bundles to a certain extent. Plus, there's YouTube videos talking about how the beef is raised and prepared and all that stuff. It's really good stuff that gives you the knowledge to make an informed purchase. I know before I got into this, I was like, well, I want to buy a half cow, but I have no idea how to do that. Well, this walks you through it, like how much you pay per pound and all that stuff. And what they're going to do is once you make your decision, they're going to take your order and they're going to deliver it to your front door with a money-back guarantee at a tremendous savings over what you're paying in the grocery store right now. Just go check them out, DeerTrailMeatCo.com. That's DeerTrailMeatCo.com.
We wouldn't be celebrating America 250 if it wasn't for a strong foundation set by the framers. Hamilton built America's financial foundation on sound money, later embodied by the gold standard. But we abandoned that discipline in 1971 and have seen inflation erode the dollar's value. What's the foundation of your savings? Is it gold or something that can be devalued? Hi, it's Dr. Ron Paul, and I encourage you to speak with my friends at Birch Gold Group about diversifying an existing IRA or 401k into a tax-sheltered IRA in gold. Learn more by requesting a free info kit on gold IRAs. Just text the word SECURE to the number 989898. Let Birch Gold help you build your foundation with gold. Text the word SECURE to the number 989898. Text SECURE to 989898.
Hey guys, Mark Schlereth here from my friends at Xfinity. And when it comes to your internet, you want the most intelligent, and that's what they provide. The most intelligent Wi-Fi that can hunt down and fix problems. Reliability, well, you want the most reliable Wi-Fi for streaming, gaming, working from home, and coverage that goes wall to wall in your home. How about security? Wi-Fi that's security blanket for your network, and reliability. Fiber-powered network with 99.99% reliability, built for speed so you can run multiple devices at once, and Wi-Fi that makes everything in your home tie and work together. Consistency, you can lock in 5 years of predictability. 5 years, the most reliable fiber-powered Wi-Fi with our best equipment. Plus, you can get online with minutes, same-day Wi-Fi. Hey man, that's the price lock guarantee. 5 years, same price, no contracts, no commitments. It's all included. Everything you need, including the data and equipment, the most reliable Wi-Fi. That's Xfinity, guys. Imagine that.
Summer should be a time of joy for children, but Wish kids often miss out due to their illness, creating a dark chapter during a time that should be filled with sunshine and memories. A wish from Make-A-Wish Colorado can change everything for these children, giving them the strength and hope they need to persevere in their fight against critical illness. My name is Carrie Fletcher. I'm part of the Alpine Bank family, member FDIC. Today, Alpine Bank hopes you'll decide to make a life-changing impact in the life of Colorado Wish kids by supporting Make-A-Wish Colorado. There are currently more than 450 Colorado kids with critical illnesses, who are waiting for a life-changing wish, and 110 more kids will be diagnosed this summer. You can help make their wishes come true. Visit wish.org/Colorado to help Make-A-Wish Colorado grant some memorable wishes this summer.
KKFN and KKFN HD1 Longmont, Denver. You're listening to Denver Sports 104.3 The Fan. Denver Sports 104.3 The Fan presents the Honorable Judge Dan Jacobs.
Is Rush an American band? No, Canadian. Well, I can't say America created Rush. Although Canada is what I've been told, the 51st state. I don't know.
Now I'm going to get in trouble. Along these lines, somebody texted in, Americans invented iconic genres of music, including rock and roll, jazz, and the blues too. And eventually, as important and equally as important, we invented barbecue. Nobody was cooking the way Americans do with outdoor barbecue. Now they imitate what we do. Yes, thank you for barbecue, America. God bless America. And then they said, also country music. You can add that to that list for better or worse. And then you, Joe, added rap. You know, well, I don't know if everybody loves rap or not. Did we create R&B too then?
I assume so. Well, they just said iconic forms of music. So whether you agree with it or not, it's definitely iconic. And I feel like it's American. Of course, it's a form of music.
Spoken word. I know. So yeah, it's. I saw something else that was interesting, and I don't want to go too far down this rabbit hole, but I was watching something online, and it says the remarkable thing about our country is, even though it's fashionable to bash on it or whatever, is that we're really so talking about like racism or other things that we want to fix, right? That we're not proud of. He says, yeah, those still exist. But look at how far we've come. And the fact that we actually recognize that these problems exist and that we are working to fix them is pretty remarkable. Because if you look at other similar empires throughout history, they weren't necessarily that way. Like Genghis Khan wasn't like, well, we had to, we need a Pride Month, right? Like, it was about domination. And
Genghis Khan wasn't very socially conscious.
Yeah, no. Am I breaking news here? Like, you know what I mean? So the other great empires, it just really wasn't a thing for them. Like we watched Braveheart when we were in Ireland because we were going the next day to one of the castles.
That's a Scottish movie, Dan.
But parts of it was filmed in Ireland. And by the way, the Irish fought in Braveheart. Remember, the Irish come over? Insane Irish! But anyway, so my daughters had never seen it, so the 8-year-old did not see it. It was a little too much for her. But so we're watching Braveheart, and you're looking at the way that the Crown of Britain dominated other societies. The only concessions they ever gave were like, okay, well, if we go this far, then everybody will riot, and we can't get away with it. But they got away with everything else. Morality did not come into it, and so the person that was making this argument was just saying, yeah, we have problems, but the fact that morals are a thing for us, that we strive to, that we have values and that we try to get better is pretty remarkable.
Yeah, like we haven't yet, but we're going to fix racism. Don't worry, guys.
Well, but that was part of what he was saying. Is it better now than it was 100 years ago?
Definitely.
In this country? How about 200 years ago? You know what I mean? And the fact that we as a country try to create it, or try to fix things like that is worth at least noting.
Definitely. I'm being facetious, but it's definitely a lot better.
Yeah. Now, going back to the conversation with the Avs and Nuggets and the spending of the money, and are we giving the Waltons not the Waltons, the Cronkies a bad rap? There was something that you brought up, Joe, that I thought this way for a long time, but honestly, Stan Kroenke made me think otherwise. And I noticed when I lived in Kansas City, it was the same way. So when I lived in Kansas City, they loved the Royals. Like I would go into my classes in law school in Topeka, and kids that weren't even alive when they won the, what was it, 83 or something, when the Royals had at that point had last won the World Series. They're watching YouTube clips of that. I'm like, were you even alive? They're like, no, but we have YouTube. Like, just crazy fanatics. My first day in town, I'm listening to the sports station there. They were breaking down, and the Royals were bad. They were breaking down the Royals draft from 5 or 6 years earlier. It was insane. But ironically, he was also a part of the Walmart family. The guy that owned the team at the time he wasn't a direct descendant, but I don't know if he married in or whatever. But he owned the Royals, and what he had figured out was if he just stuck to his budget, it didn't matter what they did on the field as far as losses. This is not to say if they would have won the World Series, he would have made more. He wouldn't have made more money, but he just said, if I stay under this threshold, I will make $11 million every single year. So he was not incentivized because he was happy with that. So he had very little incentive to invest in the team. But I always thought similarly with the Rockies. Like if the Rockies would just spend the money, they would make so much more because the fans would go nuts. Every game would be sold out, jersey sales and concessions and all that. Like they would just be sleeping on stacks of cash over there, wherever the Montforts live, right? Because that's common sense, is it not, Joe? I mean, that's basically what you were saying. Well, but they don't do that. And more in particular, the Cronkies seem to operate their business in a way that is very formulaic and that is very focused on the bottom line, which is why they didn't care when they kept their product off the air for 5 years. They didn't care because they don't care about the fan. They care about the bottom line. So they may have discovered that while common sense tells us if you build perennial championship contenders, you're going to make a lot more money. But I think if the Cronkies thought that were true, they would spend more money. They wouldn't be afraid to retain key executives. I think they've done the analysis, and there may be a flaw in that line of thinking, that even though it sounds counterintuitive, that championships don't necessarily equal huge gobs of money. Like, so for example, with the Avalanche are a very niche product. They won a championship not that long ago. If you believe Josh Kroenke, he said they lost money that year because he said they lose money on the Avalanche every year. Now, just to be fair, do I believe him? No. Other than maybe for accounting purposes in a financial sense, they on paper arranged it on balance sheets that the Avalanche were losing money for tax purposes or whatever. Do I think he actually loses money in the Avalanche? I don't. But if you listen to them, they will say they lose money on the Avalanche.
No.
Including when they win the Stanley Cup. And they're Stanley Cup contenders every year right now. But now they've spent up to the cap essentially all. So they're spending the money on the Avalanche. They've really spent the money on the Nuggets. They don't get credit for it because they didn't spend the money wisely on the Nuggets. And now I think they have to pay the piper. But here's an interesting thing. I was listening to the morning show, and they're talking about the moves they made because we talked about this on the show last weekend because there were rumors about Val. Is it Nichushkin, Joe? I tease. It's Val
Nichushkin.
But so they're talking about trading Val Nichushkin and how they may not get much back. And I said, good. They just need to, because it's a very similar argument to the Nuggets. What have they won since they gave Val all that money? It's been perennial disappointment year after year after year. They're better off. I mean, he was a complete ghost this year. They're better off just moving on from that contract and getting ready for Kel McCarr's extension next year. Now, the interesting thing was they immediately gave almost $5 million a year to Kuliak. I'm like, wait, am I missing something? He's worth that type of money?
Brett the Hitman Kulak? Absolutely.
Yeah. He's worth $5 million a year. It's crazy. So they already spent some of that money, But hopefully they'll be able to retain some. If you look at the websites, again, this is tricky because there's all these different rules, and you go to these websites, these salary cap specific websites, and you think you're well informed, and then it turns out you're not. But because, that doesn't take into account this rule or this date on the calendar or that day on the calendar or whatever. But if you go to the salary cap websites for the Avalanche and you look at next year when they're going to, have to start getting money ready for Cale Makar, they're in pretty good shape. I don't think they're going to have a problem absorbing that. And they may make more moves. There still are other guys they could move. I wouldn't be surprised if they moved Kadri. Although his contract is really not that unbearable anymore. Like, you're paying a bunch of guys.
How dare you say that, Dan? Nazem Kadri? They need to trade Brock Nelson twice before they trade away Nazem
Isn't that
Kadri.
funny, though? They are talking about trading Brock Nelson because of what he did in the playoffs. They gave him money. They gave Marty Nitschus money. And I was looking at it, and I was like, well, really, does it show that they should have just paid Mikko the $1 million extra he was looking for? But if you look at production, Mikko versus Marty Nitschus plus, Brock Nelson, that's a little hard argument to make. But they have seemed to be in pretty good shape to, sign Makar. They got Lehkonen, they got to get a deal done for him as well. But the morning show was talking about it, and I'm like, what are they going to say on this? And then our chief Jared Bednar apologist, Mike Evans, comes out hot, saying that basically Joe Sakic is vindicating Jared Bednar for the playoff failures. Here you go.
It seems to me like the strategy is this. We know we're not going to get a lot in value for our players, but if we're just prepared to just dump them, somebody will take on the player
and give us draft capital.
Some draft capital.
Greatest fifth round.
But most importantly, salary cap space, with the idea now the Avalanche have about $11 million of salary cap space to try to go out and replace some of these guys and hopefully get better value than what you're moving on from, or at least change the way your team plays and make it better equipped for the playoffs. And what Joe has done in the last week has got to sting those folks out there who just believe it's all Jared Bednar's fault. Because if you're a Jared Bednar to blame, he's the guy to blame. You're looking at this and going, why are we making these trades? Why are we dumping salary? Why are we giving guys away? All that could have been avoided if we just fired the coach. Well, apparently Joe Sakic is sending a very clear message. He doesn't believe it was Jared Bednar, to the point where he's prepared to trade these guys for not much in return and still try to remake things through free agency. That's tough. That's tough. That's tough to do in a free agent market that is not thought to be one of the better ones in recent years.
Right.
For a lot of people, it would have been, hey, Joe, it would have been just a lot easier just to replace the coach.
Yeah.
But Joe didn't want to do that.
Yeah, 100%. But it does show you that Joe looks at it and says, hey, man, what do we got to do to become, what do we got to do to become Stanley Cup champions? We got to keep the majority of our core, and we got to pay our core, but we got to shuffle up this roster.
And I give Joe credit because really this is the only way you can do it. If you just start from, I don't think we can run it back in its entirety with what we did last year. We have to change a few things with the way we look and play. You weren't going to be able to do it through trades because as we correctly predicted, your guys, because of contract, money, age, production, whatever, you just were not going to be able to get a lot of value. Now, if you're going to teams and say, hey, all we want you to do is just take on the player's salary and just give us a couple of picks back, they'll be like, okay, we'll do that. But in terms of trying to really fix the Avalanche from within, this is the only way you can do it. Clear cap space and hope to try to hit it in free agency. But what you're doing here in the process is you're just continuing to run up the credit card. And with the idea that, as I'm sure Joe looks at it, in a few years, it's not going to be my problem.
Right.
It's not going to be my problem to fix.
Yeah.
It'll be somebody else's.
I'll be living in Florida
and
playing golf.
And you know what? If this strategy delivers another cup, nobody will care.
Very interesting to me. I don't understand the apologist for Jared Bednar. Like, now, that was very James Marilat of Mike Evans to start out, right? Oh, yeah, we're supposed to be doing our James Marilat thing here in just a second. it's very James Merilatt to say that, well, everybody said it wasn't the players, it was just the coach, it was just Jared Bednar. Nobody was saying that. Clearly, the players didn't produce. But when year after year after year, the coach can't get them to produce, you got to make a change.
So whose job is it to get the players to produce more and better?
The coach. Right. Now, if you have a letdown one year, you can say, well, you kind of scapegoated the coach for the players not playing well. But if they have the ability and they don't play well every single year, well, then there's a different issue. You got to make a change in the leadership, and they just didn't do it. I'm going to continue that, but also, thanks for reminding me, Joe. For those of you that missed it, this whole thing we've been talking about, attacking Kroenke for not spending enough money on the Nuggets and the Avs and this and that, I think it's misplaced. But if you want to hear the argument, the other side of the argument, and you weren't listening a couple hours ago, here's James Merilatt making that argument. All right, so let's get into this. Nuggets. You were there. By the way, I did see, I don't know if this is true or not, it could be fake AI stuff. Jonas Valanciunas heaping praise on the work ethic of Nikola Jokic, saying basically you media types that are hating on him and piling on him and spitting out false narratives about how he doesn't work very hard and he doesn't care. Valanciunas says, not true, Mr. Merilatt. Nobody works harder than Nikola Jokic. How do you respond to that?
Well, I mean, he can say whatever he wants to say. That's fine, and I appreciate the fact that he's got his teammates back. That's cool. But, I mean, the evidence tells you a different story, doesn't it? I mean, we see him. We see what his body looks like sometimes at the start of the season. We saw what his body looked like when he came back from the injury. So, you know, if he comes back and he's all jacked, I mean, he's never going to look like Giannis, but if he looks like he's in shape in October and doesn't just play himself in shape, okay, I'll say maybe something's different. But, yeah, you know, his teammates can say whatever they want. That doesn't mean what I'm looking at with my own eyes doesn't exist. So I'm sure he does work hard on his game, but and it's really not the work ethic thing in the offseason as much as it is just the fact that he is a commitment, right? Like the fact that we have to keep having conversations of, does basketball really matter to this guy? In the beginning, it was cute. It was funny. It was nice to see a guy that didn't take it so seriously and, you know, would be fun-loving and all the rest of that. But when you're in a championship window, to me, it's, hey, what are you doing Wemby-like to improve your game, your body, your whatever, to be ready to withstand the rigors of an 82-game season? And I just don't see that in the offseason. I see cheering for your horses and, you know, doing barrel rolls off of whitewater rafts and, you know, going to the soccer matches and whatever else. And maybe it's also like, Dan, I used to get really upset when the Rockies, and they don't do it anymore, when the Rockies would get swept in L.A., get on the plane and tweet a photo of their menu, of their fancy meal they were going to have on the flight home. It's like, have a little perspective. You just got swept. Not saying you can't eat, not saying you can't have fun, not saying you can't, you know, live first class, but have a little self-awareness and don't tweet that. Same thing with Jokic. You just got beaten 6 games in the first round by a team that was decimated with injuries. And it's just not funny when you're off goofing around while the Spurs and the Thunder are going at it and you should be in that series. It's just not funny anymore. I'm just over it.
Well, I don't know that he's the one putting that out there. I think that's more driven by you media types. But I will say, I think it's a little unfair, this dismissal of the notion that there are different body types, right? If we had the same issue with Nikola that we have routinely with Jamal Murray, that he's not in shape, that he can't finish games, that he gets tired, that his performance drops down because he's out of wind or weak, like happens to Jamal all the time. In fact, I think it happened to Jamal in the Minnesota series. He looked gassed. But we never hear that about Nikola Jokic, particularly before they got a little depth. Remember Michael Malone was desperate to find any non-Nikola Jokic minutes, and he gobbled up every single minute. He's always gobbled up every single minute you throw at him and says, yes, sir, can I please have some more? Just because he doesn't look like Giannis doesn't mean he's not in shape. He's clearly in shape. I don't think the things that happen, the reason that they don't win is not because Nikola's in shape. Now, if you want to say it's because Nikola can't jump and, he doesn't protect the rim and people just drive down the middle, and you can say all those things, but to say that, to question his commitment to the game when he's probably maybe one of the only guys on the team that does put in that work and you don't have to worry. Like, when do you have to worry about Nikola coming out? In fact, as fans, we've been worried about him playing too many minutes. He never says, well, I'm tired. I can't play. Whereas, the other guy that's worth $55 million a year on the team, you do have to worry about that.
Well, what did he shoot from three-point range against the Timberwolves? What did he shoot in Game 7 when they blew a 20-point lead against the Timberwolves from three-point range? To me, that's because you're tired. You don't have any legs, and your shots are off. So, again, I'm not expecting him to look like Atlas, but I do think he could be in better shape. I think he could, and we'll see the photo that's circulating online. We'll see if that's AI or not. But if we see him, play for Team Serbia, and he looks like a different guy, and he's jacked and in shape, well, one thing will be that's great, good. Hope he keeps it up. The second part of me will be, oh, good to see he got in shape for the games he really cares about.
Oh, here we go. See, there's no winning. There's no winning with you, James.
Win the World Championship for Serbia or win the NBA Finals for the
There's
Nuggets?
absolutely no winning with you. Like, it's like, all right, well, he's not in shape. Oh, he gets in shape. You're going to say, well, good for him, but he should have always been in shape. Come on, man. Where are you at?
Yeah. I mean, if your ex gets in shape after after the relationship, you're like, well, I'm glad they're back. They got in shape, but where was that a couple of years ago?
Oh, my goodness. Oh, I love it. All right, so talk to me about the Nuggets. We're going to be talking about the Drive had a nice segment on, or a segment on. I don't know if it was nice or not. We're going to listen to part of it. But Kroenke is now, I think, the proud owner of the biggest sports empire in history. So it's to certain people, I actually don't know that I agree with this, but embarrassing to them that all we're hearing about the Nuggets is that they got to slash salary and they're dumping salary, and then they just dump salary on the Avalanche as well. Where do you fall on that?
I think a lot of what the Kroenkes do with the Nuggets and the Avalanche is embarrassing. It's embarrassing that they have one practice court. It's embarrassing that they're the only team in the NBA that at their practice facility doesn't have a individual hoop for each player. Now, that may sound like, well, that's kind of a luxury. Maybe it is, but you're the only team in the NBA that doesn't have it. That's embarrassing. It's embarrassing that that the Avalanche practice at a facility that also has a laser tag. It's embarrassing that when you go to an Avalanche practice during training camp, before they take the ice, it's the beer league that's out there playing a game. I mean, come on. That's just rinky-dink. And then when you start making moves that are salary dumps, and the Avalanche can trade with a salary dump. Now, we'll see if that frees up some money to go do something else. So was the Ross Colton trade. That was a salary dump. So, hey, if you need the cap space because you have a plan, great. If you're just, cutting costs, I have an issue with that. And look, the NBA rules are so complicated, and their salary cap and the Larry Bird exemption and the this and the that. It sometimes makes your head spin. But Dan, don't you get frustrated that seemingly every other team can make moves, right? The Lakers and Celtics seem to do whatever in the heck they want. The teams can get involved in the Giannis trade. The Timberwolves can make a bunch of moves. Why is it that the Nuggets are always hamstrung? Oh, they just can't do anything.
Well, they're not. Hold on a second. That's not fair. That is not fair, James Merrillat. Everybody said the same thing last year, and what did they do? They made a bunch of moves, and on paper, the team got a lot better. It got a lot deeper. They got rid of MPJ's poison pill contract. They brought in what was supposed to be this equal, even better player because he was going to play better defense in Cam Johnson. They brought in Tim Hardaway Jr. They brought back Bruce Brown. They did also, they gave Christian Brown money. Like, they did a lot last year, and it's probably because they were incompetent at it that they're going to be suffering this year. But to say they never do it, and by the way, haven't they paid everybody that's played well that they've drafted? They paid Nikola, they're paying Jamal, they're paying Christian Brown, they're looking at paying Payton Watson. Are you being unfair, sir?
No, I'm not, because the trade they made last year, to some extent, the MPJ trade was a salary dump. Now, they were able to add some other pieces, and add some depth that was supposed to make them better. And look, had they been healthy, and the fact that their two best defensive players were out on a team that's not very good defensively, that really did hurt. I get it that Minnesota had injuries too, but you probably couldn't have picked two worse guys to be injured other than Jokic. So, but that was to some extent a salary dump. They can re-sign Payton Watson now. Do you want to pay the luxury tax? Okay, well, if you're worth billions and billions, yes, you pay the luxury tax while you have Nikola Jokic in his prime. And once he retires and it's like, okay, we're in rebuild mode, if you want to cut costs and do salary dumps, I'm fine with that. I have no problem with that. But to not spend every dollar you're legally allowed to spend per the league rules while you're in a championship window with the best player in the history of the organization, I think is inexcusable. And I just some of these narratives that get picked up, like you just called the MPJ contract a poison pill. Why does nobody get on Aaron Gordon for his contract? The guy played, 36 games this year?
Well, yeah, but
stay healthy.
Well, hold on,
healthy
James.
For a week?
He hasn't made his big money yet. His contract's kicking in now. So next year he's going to get $32 million if he's here. I think he should be traded. But he hasn't made huge money yet. Like his contract is kicking in now.
Oh, yes, he has. Aaron Gordon, unless he's foolish with his money, anybody in his family for the next 5 generations won't have to worry about money ever again.
But we're talking about against the cap and all that stuff, and he hasn't made the huge money yet. I think it's a valid point. Like we shouldn't pay him anymore because he's done, right? Like he's washed up and he's going to be hurt. And that's not that he's not a great guy and a great teammate and Mr. Nugget, but no, he's not worth $32 million anymore.
Well,
so yeah, it has to go.
I think this is embarrassing with this organization too, is the number of soft tissue injuries they had this year and continue to have with guys. And the number of players that were, we'll reevaluate them in 4 weeks. It was 7 guys this year that they said that about. Did the Kroenkes spend every possible dollar they can on trainers and nutritionists and, the facilities and all the rest of it? Of course they don't. Of course they don't. And that's where, even in a salary cap sport, you can get an advantage is the margins. There's no cap on what you can spend on coaches. Do they spend the most on coaches? Heck no. Heck no. They have assistant coaches take lateral moves because they can make more money in other places. It's happened multiple times. So the front office, they turned into the Rockies. They just promote from within. Do you think the two-headed monster that they have at GM right now is the best possible guys they could have hired when they decided to move on from Calvin Booth?
If you ask
was Calvin Booth the best possible hire they could get after Tim Connolly left? No, of course not. They've had multiple guys leave. Connolly left. Ujiri left because they could get more money elsewhere. It happens over and over and over again with this organization, and they need to be taken to task on it.
Well, what they say is they win championships, so it works.
Yeah, they win 1.
2.
They won 1. It was singular with each team.
How many championships have the Nuggets won per decade before Stan Kroenke got here? 0. 0.
Okay,
he did something nobody in the history of the world has been able to do. He brought a championship to the Denver Nuggets.
Yep, they did. But they're also now
James,
they're gonna underachieve in the Nikola Jokic era.
Well, I happen to agree with you on that. We're going to continue that conversation. Unfortunately, our time here is done. Have safe travels back, and we will do it again next week.
All right, Dan. Sounds great.
All right, that's James Marilat. You want to respond to anything he had to say? RamosLaw.com text line, 303-713-1043, or the Schomp Honda YouTube chat. Get in the mix.
The Nuggets went shopping for athleticism, experience, and depth in the NBA draft. Denver grabbed Arkansas forward Trevin Brazile, a 6'10" playmaker with elite length, explosive athleticism. Then added Bryce Hopkins, a physical wing from St. John's who helped lead the Red Storm to Big East titles and brings toughness, rim pressure, and versatility. Are these second-round picks the next hidden gems to develop alongside Nikola Jokic? Denver Sports 104.3. The Fan.
Any jewelry store can sell you a diamond.
But there's only one family jeweler in Colorado that was literally
built on them.
In fact, we've sold more diamonds to more couples for more years than any other jeweler in Denver. I'm Steve Williams.
I'm Dylan.
And I'm Shayna Williams. That's why we built Williams Jewelers of Inglewood, an entire store totally dedicated to celebrating your love.
All the world's top bridal designers, 10 times of certified loose diamonds.
And Denver's true diamond experts, like me, who will share their knowledge and passion and how to get the most diamond for your money, guaranteed.
So whether you're looking for the perfect diamond engagement ring,
or that second diamond celebrating a love of many years,
we have the perfect diamond for you.
that's why every day more couples say will you with Williams.
Where Colorado shines.
Williams Jewelers, we can make diamonds a part of your life.
Williams Jewelers, the official jeweler of the Colorado Avalanche.
Mike Rowe here with another fun fact. If your concrete is cracked or uneven, you can actually lift it back up. Whether it's a sinking driveway, a patio, or a sidewalk, do yourself a favor. Call Groundworks. I spent some time working with these guys. They're the real deal. Their people are trained and certified to lift your concrete slabs. Schedule a free inspection with Groundworks, the foundation and waterproofing experts.
Licensed in all states where work is performed. See website for details.
Don't care for my local hometown team, ROX Rocks Heating and Air. Don't get fooled by out-of-state private equity corporations that are buying local HVAC companies, offering higher prices, bad service, and shady sales tactics. Don't trust your home to someone out of state when you have the best company right here in town. ROX are experts in local energy rebates and tax credits to save you money only at ROX Rocks Heating and Air. Now play that jingle.
HVAC service, installation, repair. ROX Rocks Heating and Air.
Welcome to Whatever Bank. How may I barely help you today?
Hi, is there an option to open a checking account with no monthly fees?
0 monthly fees? I'm afraid not. Just think of the fee as a subscription to your own money.
You don't have to bank like that. Make the switch to Key Bank to open a Key Smart checking account with no monthly maintenance fees.
Ooh, I like that.
Learn more at key.com/keysmartchecking. KeyBank opens doors. KeyBank member FDIC.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-8157. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-575-8157. That's 800-575-8157. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
Who helps keep Colorado's wildlife wild? Our people do.
Hello, my name is Patricia. I've been with Chevron for over 17 years.
Her team uses GPS to track where mule deer and pronghorn roam throughout the seasons. This data helps us take their habitats into consideration when planning our operations.
When we created our comprehensive wildlife and conservation program, it was really about what was possible.
Learn more at colorado.chevron.com.
You're listening to the Honorable Judge Dan Jacobs on Denver Sports, 104.3 The Fan.
All right, thanks to James Merilatt. By the way, in fact, I was doing it during the interview. I didn't get a chance to come back and tell him it, but there was an argument about Aaron Gordon. And my point was that Aaron Gordon, he's the reason now they're going to be in so much trouble is because he was playing under his old contract. And it's going up to, so he made about $20 million a year on the old contract. And now next year is going up to $32 million a year. That's a big jump. And it's going to put them in a pretty pickle against the cap. And James's response was, oh, well, he's made more money than anybody, his future generations will never have to worry unless he's irresponsible with his money. It was like, well, that really wasn't the point.
You can say that about almost any athlete that makes over $20 million a year.
Yeah. Now, that did remind me, though, and in fact, I was looking it up. Floyd Mayweather, man. Have you heard about this, Joe? He's broke.
Floyd Money Mayweather?
He's told us how good he is with money. He made it a centerpiece of his marketing, and somehow he's facing felony charges for passing bad checks.
Floyd doesn't have any money, Mayweather?
Yeah, and in fact, stuff like that is fascinating to me because he got in trouble, tax trouble before. So he came out, he was highly touted, he had some success early in his career, and he got in trouble for not paying taxes. So it wasn't like he wasn't aware that you got to pay taxes and things like that. But then when you make it your identity about how rich you are, and by the way, this isn't like Ric Flair rich, right? Remember when Ric Flair or some of those wrestlers, like I think it was, who was the guy, $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase? Like Vince McMahon would have to give him money, and he would tell him, we're going to buy you limos and stuff because we want you to keep the image up in public. Because back then they had something called kayfabe, which was the fantasy that was professional wrestling. So they would have to give him money rolls, and Vince would say, tip every time you go out to dinner, tip $100, right? Because it was a fantasy. They didn't really have the money. Ric Flair was not really rich. He was getting money, but he didn't have that type of money. Well, Floyd Mayweather had it. One of the fascinating things, though, and this is how, when I first suspected he was going to end up broke, was he was bragging about a bet he made, and so I knew he was gambling like crazy. Well, what happens we all know the guy, right? And perhaps we've done it ourselves, probably, if we're being honest. But the guy that brags about when he wins a big bet, yeah, okay, I'm sure you won that bet. How come I don't see any losing slips? How come you never talk about all your losses? Well, that's made Floyd Mayweather. So he bet $1 million on something and it hit. Well,
for you, bud.
how many times? So that told me, it's like, how many times did he bet $1 million and not hit? Like, do you think he happened to bet $1 million and the one time he bet $1 million he won? No, probably not. So he's posting tickets online of his betting slips. But then this is where I really knew he was in trouble. He posted a copy of his paycheck. And it was literally written from, at that point, because he was still fighting under Golden Boy Promotions to him personally for $40 million. Like, made payable to Floyd Mayweather Jr. and the memo line is like purse, boxing purse, right? And I'm thinking to myself, that's not good. Like, this should be going into like a trust or a shell company or an LLC or something so you can offset things, which is amazingly to me. And I think it's like this in all the major sports, like leagues, but I know for certain in the NFL, for example, right? You would think their agents would say, I'm Cortland Sutton. I'm getting my new contract. I get $92 million, but I want you to be in business with CS Enterprises. And so you could send the money there and then he could access it or whatever. Kind of like what's Shiloh Sanders is doing with all of his NIL money, right? He's putting in some other things so he can avoid creditors, right? You would think they would be doing that. But in the NFL, unless it's changed, they're not allowed to do that. So they get their game check. Let's say their game check is $1 million. They're paying like $65,000 into Social Security and FICA and payroll taxes. Like, they get nailed because they're not allowed to structure it the way really rich people do, right? Like, they have all their loopholes and shell companies and all that stuff. Well, Floyd, as a boxer that just gets paid a lump sum like that, has the ability to do that. But it wasn't just that. So that one check from Golden Boy was $40.5 million. Like, he's just taking the whole thing. And then later he posted checks when he started Mayweather Promotions. So they were the trust account or whatever, and then they're writing him checks personally for $100 million. And you could see the images online, and it looks like, I don't know who was running Mayweather Promotions. It may have been Floyd himself writing the check to himself, because it looked like my 8-year-old's handwriting writing this check for $100 million. So that's when I knew that Floyd was in trouble, because there's no way Stan Kroenke ain't getting a check from the Avalanche for $100 million to him personally. It's going through all sorts of shell companies. One time I looked up when I was researching, I was fascinated by the lawsuit between Edgar Kaiser Jr., who was the guy that sold actually made the trade for Elway and sold the team to Pat Bolin. And Pat Bolin promised to give him a right of first refusal and then kind of reneged on that. And there were lawsuits. And so I was reading through all the court documents, and it was funny. The Broncos were owned by, like, I don't even want to put a number on it, at least 5 or 6 different shell companies. And just this web of corporate stuff. It wasn't Pat Bolin Family Trust or something like that. It was a whole array of different shell companies. But Floyd Mayweather is just taking his $100 million a pop and putting it into his first bank account or whatever, you know? So I'm curious as to if he's bouncing checks now. I'm curious as to just how bad it is. And he's trying to file lawsuits again, for $145 million against other people, and now people are suing him. So it's going to get ugly. And I'm just curious because, for example, he has a huge car collection. He has, $3 million cars, like, one car worth $3 million, like some of the rarest cars in the world he has. And I was asking AI about it yesterday, which is a big mistake, obviously. They were saying, the AI was saying, it looked like he had a vast car collection, and he did, but they were probably all financed. So, because you were like, well, okay, if he ever runs into trouble, he's got $50 million worth of cars, collector cars there. He could just sell that, and he'll have $50 million, but not if they're all leveraged to the hilt. So, pretty interesting stuff there. Kind of dovetailed off the Aaron Gordon situation. But no, the answer is Aaron Gordon, he's not poor, but cap-wise, he's putting the Nuggets in a pretty pickle. And that wouldn't be such a concern at $32 million a year, because a lot of guys make $20 million, right? But at $32 million and you're not available in the playoffs for 2 straight years, or when it counts, that's a problem. And it's like this, what is it, tight end, Evan Ingram, the new Black Horse, that in year 10, he's the Broncos for the second year in a row, Black Horse candidate to blow up and be some offensive threat. In year 10. Okay, well, that could happen. Is it likely? Aaron Gordon could magically just be healthy the rest of his career. Is it likely? It's not. All right, we'll finish up. Man, this show has flown by. It must be you, Joe. You're back on the saddle. It's fantastic.
Definitely. It's all my fault. I'm sorry.
All right, so one more segment. I will get to your text and the Champ Honda YouTube chat. Do us a favor. Jump on our YouTube chat. Just take a look. You can see I got my Jacob's Law hoodie on. It's pretty stylish, pretty fashionable. You can see, take a look at that. You get a look at the face, the handsome face that with the goes along with the sultry voice or whatever. Not sultry.
Attractive.
Yeah, sultry, a female or a male thing.
I think sultry is like a deep voice.
Yeah, all right, it's sultry then. Yeah,
maybe. I don't actually know.
Yeah, we don't know. We have no idea. Black Velvet. I don't know. All right, final segment coming up.
The Denver Nuggets are staring at a crossroads. So what does this mean for the core, the future, and the window that was supposed to stay wide open?
I haven't heard a good plan yet from anyone. I love this stuff. I cannot think of a rock solid plan right now. I haven't heard a rock solid plan, and there's smart people that I listen to locally and nationally that talk about this stuff at a high level. And I'm saying the same thing. I still have not heard a good plan.
Denver Sports 104.3. The Fan.
Hi, I'm Chuck McDowell, the timeshare cancellation guy and founder of Wesley Financial Group. And I want to set the record straight. I am not an attorney. I've never wanted to be an attorney. And the truth is, I really don't even like attorneys. If I sound like an attorney, I'll apologize. But what I've learned in my 15 years in the timeshare cancellation business is you don't need to be an attorney to get folks out of their timeshare. After 15 years and over 50,000 cancellations, I can tell you with confidence, we know how to get you out of your timeshare. Call us today and we'll send you our timeshare exit guide absolutely free with all your options for cancellation. Attorneys, this was meant to be funny, so please don't sue me, especially my friend Kenneth from Black River Falls, Wisconsin.
Call now for your free timeshare exit info kit. 800-881-8686. That's 800-881-8686. 800-881-8686.
Legacy means tomorrow matters. Hi folks, Dan Cicchini, Done Right Home Improvements. Tomorrow, next week, next month, 10 years from now matters. My wife Susan and I started Done Right in our garage in 1985, and our family has always been focused on legacy. What we do, how we do it, how we treat people matters. As a result, we've grown to be one of the largest companies of our kind in Colorado, specializing in kitchens, baths, counters, floors, finished basements, windows, and doors. Here's our son Todd.
Dad, doing what's right shapes all of our projects. Whether a first-class kitchen renovation, a turnkey bathroom remodel, a full-service basement finish, or new windows and doors. We'll wow you with your project, your experience, and with an 8% scheduling incentive and a special financing rate of 0% APR with 72 equal monthly payments. Now couldn't be a better time. Dad?
Kitchens, baths, counters, and floors, finished basements, windows, and doors. You have our word, we'll treat you right at Done Right. Reserve your spot. Go to drhi.com. Thanks for listening.
Don't miss the Tree Farm's Array of Tree Sale, now through July 14th. See what's on sale at thetreefarm.com. Save 25 to 45% on thousands of 3 to 8-year-old shade and flowering trees. Choose from honey locust, linden, maple, oak, flowering crabapple, serviceberry, willow, and more. And save big on thousands of shrubs and perennials. The Array of Tree Sale. Come see.
You take I-25 to exit 235, then 5 miles west to the Tree Farm.
There's a difference between the cameras you buy at Home Depot and the cameras Vantage installs. Consumer cameras give you a grainy silhouette. Vantage cameras can read a license plate at the end of your driveway with full-color night vision, 24/7 recording, and no monthly subscription fees, so you never miss a thing. Invest in real security for your home. Schedule a free Vantage Threat Zone Analysis report for your property. Call Vantage at 720-366-7759 or visit vssicolorado.com today.
It's the Honorable Judge Dan Jacobs on Denver Sports, 104.3 The Fan.
All right, Joe, I looked it up. So we were talking about, go ahead and jump on the YouTube channel. You can check us out. You can see what we look like. You can see what you look like, Joe, sort of. Even though you're sitting in the dark in there. And I referred to myself. There he is. Yeah, you can see it. I said, well, I got, my Jacob's Law, shirt on and all that stuff. And I said something, you could match up the handsome face with the sultry voice. And neither one of us really knew what sultry meant. So I looked it up. Suggesting or expressing a passionate or strongly sexual nature or attraction.
Attractive.
She delivered a sultry look to the camera. All right, it's just getting weird now. Can we agree? It's just getting weird. The star shared a sultry snap of herself leaning on a balcony. They have a sultry on-air conversation. So apparently it's a little, like this. A little Barry White there. This is not Barry White, but you know what I mean. All right. So, yeah, we love it when you jump on the YouTube channel. It helps me with the bosses, okay? They know that you guys love the show and that you're out there and you're paying attention. So any chance you get, do me a favor. Do me a solid, all right? Because you never know that day when you need to call 303-LAW-4040 and you need some help. Well, you can help me out today. You can jump on the YouTube channel every time I'm on. I'd appreciate that.
If you go into Jacob's Law and you show him that you commented on a Dan Jacobs show video, I'm sure that he'll, I don't think it was cool.
Well, what we do is also the Win Dan Seats contest, where you get to sit in my seats if you go. So the way you enter that contest anyway is you have to like the Jacob's Law Facebook page. And then if you just post in the comments a picture, a screenshot of you having saved 303-LAW-4040 into your phone, you're entered to win. And there was a guy last year that went to the Chargers games, sat in my seats. So there. Now this one, I got a Zach By backhanded compliment on the text line. So I was going back and forth with this guy. He was listening to James, and he said, Saturday afternoon sports radio is the perfect time slot for Marilat. And I used to get this a lot, and I never really took it as an insult. I just took it as a, kind of a form of jealousy. Not in this guy's thing. Upset. Not in this guy's case, but people would say, oh, look who you are, some weekend guy, some weekend nobody. I'm like, all right, well, if you think I'm a nobody, that's fine. Guess what? My life goes on. But So this guy said that, and so I responded to him on the RamosLaw.com text line. And I said, and Dan Jacobs. Perfect Saturday afternoon slot. But I said, thank you for listening, Dan. And he says, now this is the Zach By backhanded compliment. Dan, you're doing great. I actually like when you fill in for Dover or Cecil when they're out during the week. Keep on. Now, what does that mean?
I don't care what they say about you, Dan. I think you're a good guy.
Yeah, it was. I had Charles Anderson on one day, and that's basically what he said. He said, Dan, I know you're supposed to be this villain and this and that, but I love you. I said, well, wait a minute. Who says I'm a villain? But you. Well,
now,
you know.
Dan, I know that nobody likes you, but I think you're cool.
Yeah. You look great now. Well, what is it? What do you mean now? Did I not look great before? Yeah. Oh, well, it's, the Ricky Bobby compliment. With all due respect. So I don't know what that means. I actually like it when you're filling in for Dover and Cecil. Well, thank you. Guess what? You get a shot in 2 weeks. I'm on.
I think it's next week.
Is it next week?
Next week? For Juneteenth, yeah. Or for 4th of July. So, yeah.
Oh, it's 4th of July next week? Next Saturday? Like a week from today?
Yeah, next weekend.
Oh, okay. So next Thursday and Friday, I'll be filling in for those guys.
I'll be running the boards. We may even have Dante Gomez. We're not sure.
That'd be great. Yeah, he and I did Juneteenth together. It was a barrel full of monkeys. It was a good time. James is a fool about the practice facility. I've been to some other practice facilities of NHL teams. They all have other stuff going on. I've spoken to the ice maintenance people, and it's better for the ice if it doesn't sit around all day. That's another thing I just kind of disagree with on, and a lot of people. In fact, I was having lunch with a buddy, Mark Hunke, big hockey guy, this week, and he was saying the same thing. It was just embarrassing. It's just embarrassing. Well, if Stan Kroenke's not embarrassed by it, it's probably not an issue, right? Like, financially, what incentive does he have to go spend? I don't even know what it would cost to give them their own state-of-the-art facility. What does he get out of it? He'll probably never even go to it. He doesn't even go to Avs and Nuggets games now, apparently. So why would he spend, bare minimum, $10 million, $20 million to build, even if they did a joint Nuggets Avs practice facility? I'm sure it would be gorgeous. It would be beautiful. But why? What does he get out of it? Nothing. Why? Now, I've heard the argument, well, but they don't take training seriously. That's why they're hurt all the time. That's why they have soft tissue injuries all the time. You don't think they pay for a good training staff? You don't think they have all the bells and whistles? And then here's the argument I hear. Well, yeah, but you can attract free agents. BS. You've heard it with your own ears the same way I have. Every single former player we've employed on this station, we talk about where would you go if you're a free agent, and they always say number one is money, period. They will go play for anybody for the most money. Now, if the offer from the Broncos is the same as the Chargers or the Browns, yeah, then it comes into play. You're probably going to want to play for the Broncos, but not if they're not offering you the same money or more money. Why do you think people were getting seriously ill playing for the Cleveland Browns because their facility had staph infection? The players kept getting staph infection and they couldn't figure it out. People were still taking as much money as they could from the Browns. There are, the Chargers are famous for having, crap facilities and their owners don't do anything. People still will take the money from any professional sports team that's going to pay them. And it's not like they're going to go, well, I'm not going to go play for the Raiders. The Raiders still spend all their money.
Should have never gave me money.
So there's kind of this misnomer that the Avs will get free agents they otherwise would not have gotten because they play next to the nacho bar, the concession stand they practice next to the concession stand at Family Sports.
I mean, what if Sidney Crosby likes nachos and that's why he wants to come here? I don't know.
Well, he could probably get nachos where he's at now. He probably likes poutine fries, which, by the way, that was kind of a big thing in Ireland, too.
Yeah, I think everyone likes poutine. Poutine's delicious.
Yeah, but we just don't see it here. Now, you go to the occasional. In fact, I was at, where they had it? Because he's a cheesehead. I went to Jim Armstrong's retirement party last weekend, and he has cheese curds and poutine fries on there. It's just you feel guilty. You feel guilty ordering poutine fries because it's gravy and cheese and everything that's on top of fried French fries anyway. You know, you have to have a healthy self-confidence to order poutine. That's all I'm saying.
Poutine is for a cheat day, Dan.
Yeah. So, so this idea that, it's going to get them free agents. Nah, it's just, everyone wants to spend Stan Kroenke's money, which I would love to spend his money, but I want it to actually do something to benefit the fans. And the fans, I don't know, maybe they would go watch. You can go watch them practice for free now. And whenever I was out there covering them, very few people were there. People just don't care about the Avalanche that much. They just don't.
Yeah, I can see that. I feel like, too, it's just a lot of little things where we just keep seeing these examples where they could have spent more, like GMs. And it would have been nice to keep Masai Ujiri. It would have been nice to keep Tim Connolly. It would have been nice to hire a different coach besides David Adelman, because I think they're worried about paying multiple coaches at once. Well, as long as you have the winning coach, I think that's fine. And especially now with Jason Kidd available, it drives me crazy.
Yeah. All right, so coming up tomorrow, in fact, I didn't get a chance to get to it today. Now, I give the other shows a hard time about hearing things on the Dan Jacobs Show, or it just taking them a lot longer to figure it out than me. But, I talk about something on the Dan Jacobs Show, and then 3 months later, they're finally talking about it. This week on The Drive, maybe for the first time in history, the opposite happened.
Whoa!
Because I had a topic. In fact, I had printed out the article, and I didn't have time to get to it last weekend. So I put it in the closet next to my headphones. I say, I'll talk about it this next weekend. Well, in the meantime, Zach and Phil blew the conversation up, and it was fascinating.
This is not a drill.
So we'll talk about that tomorrow. You can listen to Kyle and Cello at 7 to 10 a.m., and then you can catch the Dan Jacobs Show, the easy like Sunday morning edition of the Dan Jacobs Show tomorrow at 10 a.m. We'll see you then.
He's Judge Dan J. He doesn't mean no harm, but he doesn't mind telling you he's right, you are wrong. He's reading your checks, he's taking your calls. It's the Dan Jacobs Show, and he'll decide what the law will allow. Making your day the only way he knows how, by giving you the facts, cutting through the BS now. He's Judge Dan J. He doesn't mean no harm, but he doesn't mind telling you he's right and you are wrong.
The Colorado Avalanche have made a major move.
So we have some breaking news.
The Avs have traded veteran forward Valeri Nichushkin to the Columbus Blue Jackets, ending a 7-year run in burgundy and blue. In return, they get 3 draft picks, giving them 10 total ahead of Friday night's draft. What does this mean for the rest of the offseason? And what additional moves does Super Joe have up his sleeve?
Denver Sports 104.3. The Fan.
And the match is about to begin.
Most of the team is out with COVID-19, so there'll be some substitutes tonight.
What's this? We have an unexpected guest on the field.
It's a dog. Well, they could do with extra players.
She's going for the ball.
Are front paws hands or feet?
Soccer season is full of surprises, and COVID-19 could be one of them. If you test positive, prescription medications may help. Ask your doctor if they're right for you. Learn more at PfizerForAll.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
Are you having trouble hearing? Hearing loss can devastate the quality of your life. Now, there's an affordable fix for you or your loved one. Rated the best hearing aids of 2026 by Forbes Health, Audion Hearing has the highest quality hearing aids at the lowest prices, starting at just $98 a pair.
I actually like them better than my old $5,000 hearing aid.
I could not believe how my hearing and life changed.
Join over 1 million happy customers by going to audionhearing.com. That's AUDIEN hearing.com.
So care from my local hometown team, ROX Rocks Heating and Air. I have known the Rocks team for years. They have serviced my own house. Right now, out-of-state private equity corporations are buying local HVAC companies, providing higher prices, bad service, and shady sales tactics. When it comes to your heating and cooling needs, go with the local Colorado team I know and trust. ROX Rocks Heating and Air. Now play that jingle.
HVAC service, installation, repair. ROX Rocks Heating and Air.
Progressive knows you've got plenty of things to worry about.
What time does the kids' practice end? How long has that check engine light been on? Are takeout containers microwave safe?
So the last thing you should have to worry about is what to do if something unexpected happens on the road. That's why if you're ever in a major accident, Progressive's accident response can detect it and send help. It's just one less thing to worry about.
How long does chicken last in the fridge?
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Limited availability in California. Driver is responsible for emergency and towing charges not covered by the policy.
This summer, the Honey Pepper Pimento Chicken Sandwich and Pineapple Dragon Fruit and Sprite are back at Chick-fil-A.
Let me tell you about the Pineapple Dragon Fruit and Sprite. It's bright, it's bubbly, it's back.
The Honey Pepper Pimento Chicken Sandwich, it's so rich, and you can choose between the original or the spicy filet.
Ooh, boy.
And then you got those pickled jalapenos tucked right under the filet, and then just to top it all off, you've got a little honey drizzle right on top.
Okay, now I'm a pimento fan.
And I'm feeling the dragon fruit.
Which fan favorite will you choose? Real customers paid for their testimonials.
So, you're ready to propose, huh?
Yeah, man. She's definitely the one.
What are we thinking about the ring? I got my wife's at Hellsberg. I couldn't recommend a better jeweler.
I could use some help with that.
Man, go to Hellsberg. I had no idea how many details you need to consider. Did you know you can get a natural or lab-grown diamond? I didn't. Figure out what she wants. Trust me, they'll make it happen.
Start your story with Hellsberg. Shop in store or at hellsberg.com.
What if I could tell you when an earthquake would hit? Unfortunately, I can't. But shouldn't you be ready anyway? Go to ready.gov/communicate and make your emergency plan today. Don't wait. Communicate. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
KKFN and KKFN HD1 Longmont, Denver.
You're listening to Denver Sports 104.3. The Fan.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Dave Nager. 3 straight wins for the Red Sox over the first-place Yankees. Rookie Jake Bennett allowed just 3 hits and 1 run over 6 1/3. Boston wins 4-1. Masataka Yoshida led off the game against Garrett Cole.
Swinging a high drive deep to right field. He socked this one. Dominguez back to the bullpen. It is gone. Home run. Well, that's the kind of series it's been for the Red Sox. They've been doing things here against the Yankees they don't typically do.
Dave O'Brien on ESPN Radio. Anthony Siegler also went deep as Cole gave up 4 runs over 5 1/3. A 3-run 8th inning for the Astros in Detroit, and Houston wins 8-6. Rangers lead Toronto 1-0 in the 3rd. World Cup, round of 32, Wednesday in Santa Clara. Team USA plays Bosnia. SiriusXM's Tommy Smith told Marty and McGee.
2 teams that will be very evenly matched. And one of the problems that the U.S. have is they haven't done well against the European teams. So one of these days they got to break that hex and they got to step up.
6 games today. It starts at 5 Eastern with England and Panama in New Jersey, Croatia and Ghana in Philly. 2-0 Argentina plays Jordan at 10 p.m. Eastern. Lionel Messi will not start. Golf, the Travelers Championship. Scotty Scheffler now at 17 under through 9, tied for the lead with Victor Hovland. Akshay Bhatia 1 shot back. 3 games in the WNBA. Los Angeles at Indiana. Caitlin Clark out with a sore back.
Hey, this is Rich Eisen. Coming up Monday, I'm back from vacation. Tons to talk about. World Cup, NBA Draft, NBA Free Agency, NFL training camps around the corner, and more. That's Monday's Rich Eisen Show on Disney+, the ESPN app, and ESPN Radio.
It's another busy weekend around the world of sports, and this is Game Day.
Out to left center. A wicked liner. That's going to bounce on the warning track. That's going to score at least one. Yoshida's in. Here comes Rafaela. Here's the throw home. It's cut off. It's a double for Contreras. The Red Sox double their lead. It is 4-0 Boston.
ESPN Radio with the call. Dave O'Brien as the Red Sox topping the Yankees 4-1 to win the first 3 games of this 4-game series between these AL East rivals, and Boston not having the season it anticipated, but shaking things up in the division standings as the Yankees now losing 3 straight. And Boston in a position to take out the brooms and complete the 4-game sweep tomorrow. As we welcome you back here to Game Day on ESPN Radio, the ESPN app, Sirius XM Channel 80. It is presented by Progressive Insurance. He's Kyle Bailey. I'm Lance Meadow as we take you up till 7 p.m. Eastern. And speaking of the call you just heard, we bring in ESPN Radio play-by-play announcer who called Yankees Red Sox this afternoon, Dave O'Brien, to provide some insight and takeaways on what has transpired thus far within this series. And Dave, you look at the Yankees offense, and they put up 1 run today. They put up 1 run in another game, just 3 in one of the contests as well. It has been very difficult for them to plate runs. I know they're dealing with injuries, but what does it say about the state of this Yankees offense and how much it tends to be a little Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde at times?
Well, it definitely feels that way, guys. And watching them without Judge, without Stanton, without Grisham, and, even without Rice playing last night against Payton, it was almost predictable that the Red Sox, if they pitched well, and they've got some very good young pitching, despite the record, despite being in the basement, you can do that against this particular Yankee team. Now, a couple of months, I don't think the Yankees are going to be scuffling for runs like this, but right now they're in kind of one of those dead water periods of the season where they're losing games. Unless they get great pitching, they're having trouble scoring runs. And, they've got to get guys on base and steal bases, too. They've been unable to do that against the Red Sox with all of these lefties throwing so well.
Dave, this is not a Yankees team, as you well know, that needs any sort of overhaul. They need to get healthy. They need reinforcements. And, of course, the deadline's not that far away. I don't know if it's outfield depth, another, bat that can handle some left-handed pitching. But from your vantage point, what do you think they'll be shopping for or that they need as the deadline approaches?
Well, I think it's a great question, but they really are one of those teams sitting there going, we just need to get healthy. That's what we need to do. You're talking about one of the great offensive performance of our life. You're talking about the reigning batting champ, a 3-time MVP, and Aaron Judge. In that lineup with Rice and the year that Goldschmidt is having and a couple of other guys, you really don't have to do anything beyond that. I don't think the Yankees have to be particularly aggressive. Maybe the Red Sox do in a lot of areas in terms of trading off pieces, unless this is the beginning of some kind of turnaround. And that's going to be interesting to see. Is it a mirage for both teams right now? And I think it is for the Yankees. I just think it's such a good offensive team. They lead the American League in home runs without Judge and Stanton in there for a big chunk of the season. So they just have to imagine and realize what they're going to be like when everybody is healthy again.
We're talking with Dave O'Brien, ESPN Radio play-by-play announcer. He was on the call of Yankees Red Sox earlier today, in which Boston topped New York 4-1 to win the first 3 games of the series. Dave, you mentioned that right now they've had to lean more heavily on their pitching because of the struggles that we discussed on the offensive side. Garrett Cole was on the mound today. He just came back from that elbow injury last season. What type of a boost do you think Cole can provide them, especially in the second half of the season, if it comes to the point where they have to be more leaning on their arms as opposed to the offensive punch?
Well, I think you're intimating exactly what we said on the broadcast, which is he's not there yet. He's not the Garrett Cole 100% of a healthy Garrett Cole prior to Tommy John, where he's one of the most dominating pitchers in all of baseball. And, today he was hitting 98, 99 miles an hour, but he also gave up a couple of home runs. He gave up a lot of hard-hit balls that you just don't see, 110, 112 mile an hour line drives, like the double to Contreras that I thought was really the key hit in the game against him pretty early in the contest. He's just not there yet. I know he talks about he feels good, and I get that. And he's certainly not nursing that elbow, but he's not pinpoint command the way we're used to seeing this. You know, for 3 years, he struck out more batters than any Yankee pitcher in history, more than I think Ron Guidry did over a 3-year period, or at least since Ron Guidry, who is a phenomenal talent for the Yankees. So I think it's a matter of time. It's a matter of reps, a matter of innings before you see Cole dominating again. But, you know, he's had trouble with the Red Sox in the past. He's had trouble at times at Fenway Park against much better lineups. This is not a good Red Sox problems today. That's a result of he's just not quite back to where he needs to be.
Dave, this has been a great series for the Red Sox. Not so much a season, of course, 11 games under 500. Alex Corrigan in late April. Since Chad Tracy took over, what stood out to you about the pivot maybe they're making organizationally and big picture? What's the vision for the Red Sox over the next couple of years?
Well, I think it's a great question because it's going to come down to one thing, and that is who is making that decision. Who makes that call? Is it going to be Craig Breslow? Does he keep his job? Or do the Red Sox, the front office, have a complete overhaul? And John Henry and Tom Werner, the owners, they decide to clean house. So it comes down to that. What's happened here in these games is the Red Sox have pitched their tails off. They've actually been a very good pitching team. And when you have youngsters like Connolly Early and Payton Tolley and today Jake Bennett throwing like this, out pitching the Yankees pretty seriously, it gives hope. Now, the question is it fool's gold, these last 3 games? Because when the Red Sox came off the previous series in Colorado, they were expecting to hear boos back in Fenway Park. They lost 2 out of 3 in Denver, and nobody was really looking at the opportunity to do something like sweep the Yankees. Now, you guys know as well as I do, the rivalry, this makes crazy things happen. When it's Boston and New York, it's different. It just is. So is this a result of the Yankees are in town and it's a chance to beat your rival, but then you got Washington coming in after them and they give it up and they lose games against them? Or is this what the Red Sox are supposed to be? I do know this, when the season started, the template was pitch great, play good defense, score enough runs. And as you guys have said, the Red Sox just don't score runs. They've scored enough in this series. They've gotten their great pitching. Is that going to carry through to the trade deadline and maybe change what they were anticipating doing, which was trading a Sonny Gray or a Aroldis Chapman, a Jarren Duran? That remains to be seen. Right now, it's a pretty glorious time at Fenway Park. Anytime these rivals beat each other, it's great stuff.
Dave, before we let you go, to piggyback off of your point, because interestingly, Kyle and I earlier in the program were talking about the greatest rivalries in sports, and one of our big takeaways was that even if these teams are on opposite ends of the spectrum, as we're seeing in the standings right now, the level of play can very well be unpredictable, where you could have Boston take the first